Going deep down the sideline. Touchdown! Marvin Mims. 36-yard score, and Oklahoma's on the board.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
That was a loss of 13 yards. Leary stepping up, throwing to the end zone. Back to the end zone, touchdown grab. Total with the catch for the pack at 27 yards.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Sean Dollar's in the game now on the long third down. Just to the right of Nix. Cross underneath to Ferguson. Dollars throws a block, and that lets Ferguson break tackles and score the Ducks' first home touchdown.
Sikkim 365 Radio is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
First and goal at the Texas A&M 4. Robinson in motion. Marshall up the gut. Touchdown, Appalachian State.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Here's Buckner. Pressure coming. Buckner stands in and fires space. Intercepted. Gilmore down the sideline. Pick six. Gilmore.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we go. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports on YouTube, and now over 24,000 subscribers. We've jumped by that number in the last couple of weeks. We appreciate you, all of you, already a lot of you already on the chat room as well. The last one is from Clint, go Beavers. From the DA, good afternoon, college fans, go BYU. RH5, watch Kansas, go 4-0. And Scotty B giving us information on many things, including a story from Pete Thamel today and Dennis Dodd today on Oklahoma and some non-conference games. And then also news about one of the commissioners that has been very much a part of the college football playoff expansion. We discussed today Marshall with analyst who covers Marshall, an analyst who covers Appalachian State, Kansas, and then also former Baylor receiver and sideline reporter Ricky Thompson will join us. Paul's Top 5, John Machota, Cowboys and NFL, and so much more to get to today. Let's start with this one. Craig Thompson, who's been very much a part of the college football playoff expansion, he was on the main committee at the very top, announces that at the end of the year he will step down as their commissioner after 24 years. Something ironic here is I had gone back and forth with a couple of media relations people within the conference about getting Craig Thompson on the show. We will still do that, but that was interesting. I reached out to them Sunday, and he now, go ahead, leave that up, Garrett, if you don't mind. He now stepping down 24 years as their commissioner and very much involved and probably knows all of the nooks and crannies with the college football expansion as well.
Well, I mean, it was the thing he was keeping him in it, and they finally got it done. And, I wonder, had they gotten it done a year ago when they talked about it, would he have retired a year ago? But he said, yeah, he kept it in there and viable access for the Mountain West. And, again, for the group of 5 teams like the Mountain West and the Sun Belt and the American, it remains to be seen, how viable that's going to be. But top 6 rated conference champions are going to get in. So you get a team that gets that, 6th, spot, then you're going to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's few and far between that happening, obviously. But, weird to see a guy, do so right in the middle of football season, whether his, goals were met or not. That's still just kind of strange timing. But as he said in that statement right there, he just wanted access. He was fighting for playoff, opportunities. And now we're going to have that, and there's going to be an expanded playoff, and just the details. Not so much whether or not the Mountain West will have a chance or what need to be ironed out, but they will. To what extent, really, when all is said and done, it'll be a better chance than they've had here recently, and that's the same for everybody. And that's the argument against everybody pushing back on it's too many this or it's not that or whatever, but you couldn't say that everybody had a real opportunity before with just 4 teams.
No.
There's no way.
I mean, and the math here is 5 conferences will definitely get 5 spots. Now, And then there'll be 6 others outside of that they'll probably go to all those 5 conferences, with more going to probably the SEC and Big Ten. And then of that last spot, 5 conferences will vie for 1 spot. Yeah. Which is that top 6. So.
In some cases, I mean, I think we need to, wait and see on how much of that, wild card side of things is all filled by 2 conferences. I know that's what it's going to turn into. Yeah. I know that's why everybody's now fat and happy, and Sankey and Warren are all ready to move forward, is because they know that they'll have that. But yeah, I mean, he put Mountain West in a better position than they were in otherwise. So mission accomplished, I suppose, and good for him.
All right, so here's also the news, and a lot of people are going like this far left or far right on this. Sounds like I'm getting political. I'm not meaning to. Pete Thamel was reporting earlier that the SEC has directed Oklahoma to not play games against Georgia and Tennessee with upcoming non-conference games, including 23, and then of 31, they'll be in the SEC. And who knows, maybe they'll be in the SEC sooner than that. And also, with Georgia. And then Oklahoma was supposed to be in Knoxville in 2024. And who knows, they might be a part of the conference. Now, like Scotty B, among others, are going, this means they're leaving. And then Chris Nelson just said, I think a lot of people are overblowing that. And Dennis Scott, put up again, if you don't mind, because look at what he actually said. Announcement does not indicate movement sources on Oklahoma and Texas leaving the Big 12 early. That could happen. Of course it could, but not an indicator. Best guess is SEC close on its future scheduling structure and needs those Oklahoma-Georgia, Oklahoma-Tennessee games for competitive balance.
Okay, here's my question with this. I know we've done the whole song and dance on when Oklahoma and Texas are actually leaving. Why does this need to be such a behind the scenes, like will they, won't they, are they, aren't they? Like, why is this sneaky feeling? They're leaving anyways.
Yeah.
Like, so if they're leaving, like, why is there this sense that they're going to try to pull the wool over the Big 12's eyes again and, like, doing it by a year or 2 earlier? Like, what does it matter?
First of all, they can't pull the wool over the Big 12 eyes. They leaving early, the Big 12 would know.
I understand that, but that's what I'm saying is, like, why is all this speculation of, like, what are they doing in the, I guess it's because of the way it happened to begin with, but they take some games off the schedule. And everybody's like, oh, my gosh, are they trying to get into the SEC earlier? And I guess we're all just trying to find out when that's going to happen. But aren't they just going to announce that? Like, there's nothing to be sneaky about. Like,
But
does
then
that make
why
sense?
would they ask yes, it makes a lot of sense. But then why would they ask the game for next year and another game in 24 against 2 future SEC teams to not be played?
I get that. That's part of my question is, why is this feeling sneaky? Like, there's nothing to be sneaky about. Like, if you want to leave next year, just say you want to leave next year and you're going to leave next year. Why does this feel like it's going to be like, surprise, on a Tuesday, we're leaving next year. Ha, you thought we were staying 2 more years. Why does it feel like there's that to this? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't feel that. I understand.
But that's what we're talking about, though.
No. What we're talking about is why would they do this if the SEC – maybe do they know something so those games don't need to be non-conference? But again, there's going to be an announcement. It'll probably be a combo announcement with the Big 12 and the SEC and Texas and Oklahoma. I don't see under the like behind the dark curtain like we saw in July of last year.
I don't know if
the fans are treating it that way.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
And look, I
that's what I was getting at.
I get the sense of like there's 2 sides of me that are like, this is just the first if that's the case, then this is just the first minor announcement of several announcements to come where some agreement has been reached about what year they're actually leaving if they want to do that early. But I also don't know if that would necessarily happen. I mean, this can be, again, just completely formulaic in that, like what Dennis Dodd said, of like, it's just because the SEC's figured out what they're going to do, and now they need those slots back to really make it work, and then it gives Oklahoma, particularly those 3 schools, time to find other non-con games.
Justin or Chris Nelson, but they didn't cancel Texas, Alabama. And that's the same type of scenario that if we look at Tennessee or Georgia and Oklahoma, then would they not have also done the same thing with Alabama and Texas? That game next year is in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I guess I see a lot of people like speculating on what this means, and I guess for me too, like that's where it leaves my brain. It's like, why does this just feel like there's still like some behind the scenes? I mean, there has to be behind the scenes conversation to figure this out, but why does it seem like the Oklahoma and Texas are doing their thing and the Big 12 is just totally unaware of what's going on? And maybe it's because the Big 12 doesn't need to be commenting on this because it has nothing to do with them. But I don't know. It just feels like this mystery of like when they, won't they, are they, will, and that's just like, why is that such a mystery? Like, let's just all get on the same page And I guess they have. They've said, we're waiting out our contract. I've seen comments by Joe Castiglione in Oklahoma, and I think probably to a lesser extent Chris Del Conte in Texas, but it does feel like there's almost this waiting on pins and needles of them to make a surprise announcement like, nope, we're leaving a year early, and that kind of thing. So maybe that's just what everybody's anticipating is that it's not going to last that long, but I don't know.
It's split pretty much 50-50 on the chat room about what this news means. And again, it's news, so we're bringing it to you, and then you can also digest it yourself. I heard something earlier today about a comment about sports talk radio, and I think that's probably in a way what we are. I hope we're more than that, and there's nothing wrong with just being sports talk radio because we're on different mediums, that we are here or that someone thinks sports talk radio is on the air to try to tell you what to think. I hope you've never truly thought that, and I'm not saying you've said it, anyone that has sent me a note or whatever, that is absolutely the complete opposite opinion of what we have. We will give you different angles and let you decide for yourself, and that's the way I think it's fair. That's the way that you trust us, and that's also the way we trust you to make up your own decision.
I think that, that's definitely our model. Like, we don't want to make you feel any other way than entertained. That's all that we do here and informed. But I do think that there are many mediums out there that are set up shows, networks, that their whole thing is they want to make you feel a certain way because they know it's going to make you coming back. For example, if you're on Facebook right now and you are engaging in like an angry, debate, Facebook loves that, and they have skewed their algorithm to make sure that you get angry and stay on Facebook longer so they can show you an ad for sunglasses. Like, that's what they do. The cable news wants you to either look at, selling gold or whatever they're doing on CNN because they're trying to make you mad. So you want to be like, I can't believe what that guy who I don't like said. And then I'm going to watch it until you talk about it again.
Yeah,
that's not what we do.
I've always wondered why you may tell somebody, I can't stand watching or listening to you, and then you're there every day. All right, Vernon Sheldon Witter. I do not seriously think any of us trust either Texas or Oklahoma, which is kind of what Paul was saying. Chris, $2 super chat. Texas and OU have already backstabbed the Big 12. No trust. And some of you feel that way. I get it.
And see, that's what I was getting at, is like it feels like the speculation is everybody just waiting for that knife to get pulled out again. And why does it have to be secretive? Yeah. Like, if you're Oklahoma and Texas, if you want to leave next year, just say you're leaving next year. If you want to leave by the end of your contract, just say that. And again, Joe Castiglione, I've seen comments in like the last 3 weeks of we're staying until 2025. I don't trust him as far as I could throw him, and he's a big dude. I couldn't throw him very far. Yeah. So I have very little trust for Joe Castiglione at this point, or Chris Del Conte for that matter. And I know that's where everybody's coming from. My thing is that there shouldn't have to be speculation. Like, it should just be open and acknowledged. If that's the path we're going down, then just say it. Like, there's nothing stopping it ultimately, so
But this
who cares?
is not from Oklahoma. This is from the SEC directing Georgia and Tennessee to not play their home-and-home non-conference series against Oklahoma. So it's not as if Oklahoma made that announcement. So does that matter? Does that make it any difference the way someone might feel?
No, because I wasn't really I know I just said the Castiglione thing, but I'm not saying Oklahoma and Texas are doing this. I'm just saying, like, if there's a plan to try and pull the wool over the eyes again or stab somebody in the back, because that's what everybody speculates. That's why everybody's speculating. That's where that comes from. If that, in fact, is the case, Castiglione, Del Conte, you don't really have to do that.
Would just be revenge
just do it. Like,
just revenge for the bad call against Bama.
I don't think they are. I don't.
Right, okay, so that's
don't
fine.
Think they are, because they're going to have to write a big-ass check anyway, no matter what.
Right. So
no matter if they try to pull it over their eyes or just say, okay, this is what we're doing, we'll let you know 10 months in advance.
I think the only thing, if they, like, what are they achieving by stabbing in the back? Just a minor scheduling inconvenience now.
You think you were going to keep us an extra couple of 3 or 4 years?
Houston doesn't get to,
I think, and I think your Mark made this clear as well, that if in fact whatever happens, whether it's 25, which is when it's planned, or if it comes earlier than that, it will be that the SEC, they may not even be much involved in this. It will be the Big 12, Texas, Oklahoma, and everyone else working it out. That's the way to do it. Make it work right. You're leaving. Let's make it right for us, and we'll try to make sure you get what you want as well. Goodbye.
But Craig is 1,000,000,000% right in that there's no reason to be nefarious. Like, just
that's
exactly,
I agree. But there is that feeling, I think, and again, the chat room is even so. Chris Nelson says he doesn't think it has anything to do with that. Justin, didn't your Mark say that the Big 12 is open for business? Who's to say say that a deal hasn't been made already, but only a few people know? SEC would probably keep the Big 12 SEC Sugar Bowl game. Justin, I don't know. It's a good question. I appreciate the chat for us here on 365 Sports.
Well, who knows?
One of the other notes here is that the Alabama-Texas game is going to be played before 25, and the Georgia-Oklahoma and Tennessee-Oklahoma series were expected to go past 25. And maybe that has something to do with the earlier games not happening.
Did you see who they've scheduled in place of Georgia, Oklahoma? SMU. So that's who they will play in place of Georgia on that schedule, apparently. So that ought to be a good little matchup.
That was quick.
Yep.
I wish Tanner Mordecai could play in that game.
Well, hey, NCAA rules, he might. He might be an eighth-year senior by the time it's all said and done. Just file for a waiver, and it'll probably be passed. So, yeah, just go for another waiver, Tanner.
You know who doesn't know their eligibility either? The actual players. I remember asking, we had Squirrel in here, I said, how many more years of eligibility do you have? He goes,
I don't know.
A two?
The COVID year, and then the additional year because things were shut down. And then, of course, there's the red shirt, and then there's it has gotten crazy. Oliver Yost, here's another one. It's because, guys, they won't be able to do the return games as non-conference games later on because they'll be a part of the same conference. So only one team would get the home game. Maybe that has something to do with it. Man, I love it because it brings a lot of discussion about the future.
I want to be very clear. I'm not sitting here going like tinfoil hat. It seems very clear what they're doing. They're just easing the schedule up to be able to make it work when they do join. But you can't avoid that conspiracy theory that comes with it of how are they trying to screw them now? And, how are they? And so all I've been saying is like, there's no reason to. Like, you've already done that. You've already done the knife in the back thing. So, yeah, everything from here on out, whether it's, a move to set up a move or whatever, it should just all be transparent because there's nothing to hide anymore. And that's all I was really getting at. But, yeah, that makes sense totally on the return game and all that comes with that. But Oklahoma, SMU, who knows where SMU's at that point? They might be in another conference themselves when they roll up to Norman. But that ought to be cool.
Red Wine 65, I can't blame Oklahoma for trying to replace Georgia with SMU. Justin, two ACC teams played each other in a non-conference game a few years ago. Is that because they don't play each other? They don't all play each other. That's unique. From Joey, guys, I'm telling you, West Virginia is not a bad team. Okay, Kansas is just very much improved. Joey, you're right too. I agree.
I do think there is something to that. I think Kansas is clearly improved. There's two guys on that team now that a lot of people who not your casual person out there who's just randomly watching college football, watch their favorite team and maybe dabbles elsewhere. But people who watch college football on a pretty regular basis, like if you haven't already, at some point, you're going to be talking about Jalen Daniels and you're going to be talking about Devin Neal and you're going to be talking about, obviously Lance Leipold for starters. They've got a good conversation going right now, and we'll see how it lasts going into Big 12 play. But man, if they were somehow win this weekend and just they got something good cooking, and the only downside to that is the fact that that's going to come with so many coaching rumors now the rest of the way, and they got 10 more games to go. So that's going to be tough to have to deal with that every single time, especially when they win, and they're not done winning. Like I think they're going to win some more moving forward. But yeah, having said that, Kansas is good, and they're much improved, and you give Lance Leipold a lot of credit. But yeah, West Virginia on the other hand is not so bad that, oh my gosh, they lost to Kansas. This is a different Kansas team. You're right. But there are, obviously still plenty of things to worry about with West Virginia and just kind of where that's going now at this point.
We'll have Matt Tate from the Lawrence Journal. He'll join us at 4:30 today. Writers on Marshall and Appalachian State today. Writers on also Kansas today. And then, of course, Ricky Thompson, Baylor sideline reporter on Baylor, along with more. So looking forward to that. Oklahoma on the tweet, again, the announcement, as you mentioned, SMU replaces Georgia and Tennessee. They'll play SMU next year, and they'll play SMU in 2027. Those were two of the dates that opened up because of the news on Tennessee and Georgia not being a part of their future schedule. In the studio today, Emery Winter, Jack McKenzie, also Garrett Ross. Earlier today, I saw Jacob Wilson as we were recording high school football news and notes, and, of course, Levi's always somewhere and very much a part of what we do here on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Now, the weekend, the Nebraska-Oklahoma game, I'm a Huskers fan. I will be forever. But there was a story, and I'm tired of talking about them, and I love them, even though they have disappointed me. But I want you guys to tell, Max Olson will join us tomorrow. Nebraska has lost 56 scholarship players to the transfer portal, the second most in the Big Ten. Of the 56 who left, what does this say that 45 stayed in the program for 2 years or less, 19 were gone by the end of their first year, and even worse to me, this stat is that of the 40 players from his first three classes who transferred out, only 14 of them ended up remaining in the Power Five. That's where Appalachian State, Marshall, and teams like that, and I'm not saying it because they get the guy from Nebraska, but that's something, think about that number. The attrition number is awful. Everyone's attrition numbers are pretty bad, but 40 players from his first three classes transferred out, and yet only 14 of them remain playing Power Five football.
Yeah, that's not good. It says that he's missing on a lot of recruits. There's guys that don't fit. There's guys that don't fit in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I think it also is a larger problem with Nebraska in that when Bob Devaney and Tom Osborne and Frank Solich were there, and I know Solich didn't win a title, but Solich still had that identity. When those three coaches were there, Nebraska had a real identity of who they really wanted to be. So you didn't have to worry about guys, even if you took that in the modern context, if you knew that you were going to be a team that knocked people in the mouth, you had big offensive linemen, you were built around running the football, you were, your defense was about, swarming and all that stuff. Heck, Wisconsin has that identity that Nebraska really has in the Big Ten now. I would say that that's probably the closest thing to what.
Well, who's their AD for the longest time? Who was the coach that led
Barry
to that?
Alvarez?
Who played at Nebraska?
So they have that identity there at Wisconsin. They have that, and they had it in Nebraska. Since that time is over, since the day they fired Frank Solich,
9 wins.
They have not ever had that identity again. It's very similar to what happened in Miami. To me, when they left the Orange Bowl, they lost their identity. And so they haven't been able to grab back who they were, and it's not like the college football world waits for all these people to come back around. They're going to keep moving forward, and if you can't get on board, then, you're left in the dust. Who Nebraska and Trevor Alberts hires next has to grab that identity back. Or it doesn't have to be that identity, but an identity that's going to be a 30-year identity. That's what Alabama has right now. They have a core, like what Nick Saban has set up is this is what we are. And he's always adapting, which is what makes him the smartest coach around. So he's not just, we're going to do this, this, and this. He's changed his offense with the times, as opposed to Nebraska's kind of doing what Jerry Jones and the Cowboys do. Like, what's hot right now, we're going to do that. But the reason that the teams that are in the playoffs consistently over and over again are always in the playoffs, when the Patriots are doing that, when the Ravens are doing that, is that they have the same identity for a long time and they build their rosters around that way. College football has to be that same way.
It is stunning to me that they've lost that many players, and that many players they lost were not even going to other Power 5 programs. And then again, not, because that's why they've been a dumpster fire for really almost 10 or 15 years. Mike Games, Nebraska, there's everything that happens to them. They fired Bo Pelini because ESPN was mad because he spoke out against SEC ESPN TV network. Well, his temper had a little bit to do with that. You can only get away with that for so long. He did win 9 every year, but they also, the reason he got fired was that, but also because they always got slammed by somebody giving up 50, 60, 70 points, and he was supposed to be a defensive guy, and his team was starting to give up big points to Wisconsin and Ohio State and everybody.
And he was running afoul of boosters.
Yeah, and that's, there's a whole bunch of stuff you have to do when you're the head coach. Craig, anything on Nebraska and the numbers I just put up?
I mean, no, not really. That's interesting. It's just one of what a 100 different stats that could tell you why they have not been very good over the last 20 years. It's one of them. There's plenty. Max, I'm sure, outlines a lot of them. But, yeah, I'm curious to see who they're going to go out there and get. I think there's this romanticism of things that were, and I think there's a realization that that's not ever going to happen again. The 90s are over, and they will never return, no matter what Nebraska does. Like, there's nothing that they could do to turn that to where it was. That's Alabama's territory now. Maybe Georgia's to an extent, and besides that, I think everybody else is kind of scratching and fighting to get the remaining pieces. But, yeah, that era is over. That's not returning. And adjust your expectations accordingly. God knows you should have by now. You've had 25 years. So if you're still thinking of the 90s, hopefully it's just, fondly and then getting back to the realization that this is a much different game now. And there's not going to be any Tom Osborne that walks through that door. But, maybe there is a Dave Aranda. Maybe there's a Matt Rule like Baylor had to have, like somebody to just come in there and kind of get the mentality and the attitude and all of that back. I think they need that as much as they need anything, is what is their identity? Who is Nebraska football at this point?
There is none. The only thing they have is their memories. The only thing they have now are the memories.
And that's what I mean is, we talk about go get this guy, go get that guy. Like, first of all, you need to figure out who are you? Who are you at this point? And yes, you look at Iowa or Wisconsin, and that's kind of like, hey, there's the blueprint, and there's a route that makes sense. But, I know that the ambition is great, and they want to return to the promised land, and I'm sure they feel like there's a guy out there who can do that, and certainly there's the support. And certainly, you hit on the right guys in recruiting, and you look at Kansas right now with Jalen Bean or with Jalen Daniels and Devin Neal and guys like that. It's possible to build from anything, really. So I don't think hope is lost for Nebraska, but I do think they have to be realistic about who they are and where they're going and where college football is going, and figure out and find somebody who can take advantage of what is uniquely Nebraska that can aid them moving forward, because they're not going to be just stand there and go toe-to-toe with fistfuls of cash and expect to come out on top versus everybody else that's got fistfuls of cash. So I don't know who can do that, but I do have hope that Nebraska can be a respectable program that wins a bunch of games. I just know that it's just never, ever, no matter what they do, ever going to be like it was in the 90s.
They have as good of facilities as most anyone else, and they're building a monstrous facility, so they know they have to come up with somebody. Otherwise, they're just building what will be eventually like the relics of the Roman Empire. Also, they are getting the money because of the Big Ten and the TV and all that, plus now the college football playoff. The problem with them is they don't know who they are. As you said, they don't have an identity, Paul and Craig. They don't know who they are. And so someone asked about that, and I saw Max's article on Scott Frost and Nebraska, and that is, like, again, termites, you don't see them until it's too late. And it probably is too late. And now, okay, the question was, if he doesn't get it done, who can? Well, no one knows. No one knows whether you go and get somebody with a shady past or you get somebody that's on the up and coming or who it might be. I don't know. But that stat really did blow my mind.
Growing up, okay, there was a team that ran the option. There was the black shirts. There was Scott Frost. There was Tommy Frazier and a litany of great players. But it was a team that ran the option and, played great defense. And now I don't know. They've been so many different things over the years with so many different faces leading the charge that it's puzzling to me of who they are. They're, at their core, one of the most dedicated and loyal fan bases that you could ever find. Nobody wants their program to win more than Nebraska fans do, and that's been going on since the program began. But yeah, I don't know what I'm supposed to think of when I think of Nebraska football beyond the nostalgia in modern day college football. I don't know who they are. I don't know who they're trying to be. I don't know what their uniqueness is outside of just the loyalty and go big red and all that. They're just kind of there, and they need somebody to come in and show them what they can be and guide them to what they need to be, because right now they're just hoping that money will solve problems, basically. And they've tried that over and over and over again, and they're in the exact same place they were basically since the year 2003, 2004. I mean, when did, I guess, the ball really get rolling downhill?
Solich was fired after the 2003 season.
So since then, basically.
Yeah, they had the Ndamukong Suh team that could play with anybody, and we saw that.
Should have won a Heisman.
But
we know that.
Then after that, it's been hit and miss for quite some time. 3:29, we'll come back with more discussion. Go back to the chat text line. We're going to check that as well. We'll have Chuck Landon. He writes for the Huntington Herald-Dispatch, covers Marshall. He's a columnist on their huge win against Notre Dame, along with much more. Appalachian State, Kansas, Baylor, and Jeff Traylor, head coach at UTSA, the week that they're going to play in Austin against Texas, and the grind that they've been on with Houston, Army, both overtime games, and now heading up north to play Austin this Saturday. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace Saturday. If you're going to be at the Baylor game, you're looking for tailgate food, or you're looking for food you're going to cook at home if you want to just sit around and watch college football and pro football all weekend. They have the New York Strip, select choice in prime from anywhere $6.99 a pound to $18.99 a pound, with prime, of course, being the elite part of all of that. Pork spare ribs at $2.25 a pound. St. Louis style ribs, $3.50 a pound. Baby back ribs at $3.25 a pound. Chicken tenders, whether you want to grill them or you want to deep fry them, whatever you want to do with them, at $3.99 a pound. And German sausage and hot links at $3.50. Waco Custom Marketplace also with seasonings, sauces, marinade, charcoal, cold beer, cold wine. Waco Custom Marketplace with a bakery and butcher shop, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Looking for a great job with great pay and awesome benefits? Genco FCU is hiring. As a longtime Waco employer, Genco focuses on what matters most in our employees' lives, like pay incentives, bonuses, benefits, 401k plans, paid time off, advancement opportunities, medical, prescription, dental, and vision insurance, as well as short and long-term disability. Come join our incredible team today and make Genco your career that will work for you. Apply at gencofcu.org or at any branch location.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgan Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season, and BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Colgan Ford.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Here's a text message, 254-339-1122. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak. This is 365 Sports YouTube, Sikkim 365 Radio. This is an interesting text From the 213, during the broadcast of the Oklahoma game last Saturday, Bob Stoops stopped by the radio broadcast booth. Asked if he had watched Texas-Alabama. Stoops replied, yes, I did, and believe it or not, I was pulling for UT, much to the surprise of my Oklahoma brethren. I thought UT looked good. I liked what I saw. UT succeeding is great for us at Oklahoma and great for the SEC going forward. If one of us wins, we all win. Texas doing well is good for all of us in the SEC. Just like that, Stoops said it. Bottom line, Oklahoma and Texas, this is 213, may still be a part of the Big 12 for right now, but psychologically they are long gone. They have no interest in the Big 12 any longer.
And
I get
vice
that.
versa.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
like,
right.
I think, that's been, I mean, I'm not trying to be mocking there. I think that's pretty clear, and I think it's pretty clear that the Big 12's like, we'll see ya. And I know that the immediate response is, you won't be saying that when the money's gone and, you're fighting for the new TV deal. And, like, look, I think everybody in the Big 12 understands the motivations of Oklahoma and Texas. They always acted as if they were too good, especially UT for the neighborhood anyways. So how many attempts was this before they finally did leave? Well, there's a whole Pac-12 issue. There's been multiple times where they've threatened to or have were rumored to have been in negotiations to leave. So, like, none of this is new. It's just that it's actually happening now. They're just doing what Missouri already did and what Nebraska already did and what Colorado already did. And, who am I missing there? Nebraska, Colorado, Missouri, and A&M already did. So, like, A&M already made the SEC move. This isn't anything unique or new. It's unique in that it just was kind of pulled like a rabbit out of a hat out of nowhere following media days last year. There was no indication that there was actually fire to the smoke. The smoke, though, it's been out there for years now. Like, it's been in the clouds for forever for the Big 12. So, we just finally saw some of those flames and some actual substance to it. But yeah, no, I'm sure that most of the logos have already been changed over, and I'd be almost surprised if they haven't. They're acting like an SEC team. They're going to be an SEC team, and I get that. It's kind of like you go to Cincinnati or BYU right now. They got Big 12 logos, going up. So I think that's to be expected, and it's understood. And, I think, obviously Oklahoma and Texas have every reason to be really excited about where they're headed, but I think for the Big 12 schools remaining, there is almost a sigh of relief that even though the money's going to be different, obviously, the money's still going to, be there to some extent. It's not going to evaporate entirely, and they're still going to be able to handle their business and still have a shot at the playoff and all those things. So everybody wins. Maybe some make a little bit less money, and certainly a couple will make way more money. And if money's your driving factor and your motivation, then win for Oklahoma and Texas. But I think everybody is going to be fine in the end. I don't think it's oh my gosh, I hope that they change their mind, or maybe they'll come back. Like, everybody's already moved on, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I think that, well, I mean, if you're Texas and Oklahoma as coaches, you are recruiting guys who, when they are upperclassmen, are going to be SEC players.
Yeah, no, you have to do that right now.
So you are recruiting the SEC. Like, you're saying, hey, do you want to come to Texas or Oklahoma and play against Bama and play against A&M and play against Florida and Tennessee and Georgia? Like, you can do that here. And so they're not saying, like, they're basically saying, like, yeah, you're going to have to play against Baylor and TCU and Iowa State for a year or so, but eventually we're going to make that move. And when we make that move, we want to be ready to make that move. So we want you to be good. And we want to be good the day we get there. Arch Manning, you're coming to the SEC. Arch Manning's not a Big 12 quarterback for maybe more than a year of his life, probably. So they're not selling him on being a Big 12 quarterback. They're selling him on being the SEC quarterback, the guy who comes to Texas and helps Texas win the SEC. That's the idea that they've planted in Arch Manning's head. Every player that Brent Venables is recruiting, he's recruiting against the SEC and for an SEC team. That's what he has to do. Because if not, it'd be like, well, that's going to happen in a couple years. Well, how can you get players excited about that?
Yeah, no, you should. If you were one of those two, you should. Again, you're going to Oklahoma and Texas anyway, even with one of them has struggled for about a decade with the uptick with what we saw on Saturday. Somebody who has been a part of coaching searches, has been a part of a search firm, said to me the other day, do you know who would be a great fit at Nebraska? And I don't think he's going because he's the perfect fit for where he is. Kalani Sitake at Brigham Young. he is born and bred basically BYU. So that they can money whip him because they can, but it was someone who's been a part of coaching searches that has been kind of saying, okay, who would be a great fit there? The style they play.
Yeah.
And what they need and someone they can trust. One of the things Max Olson sent me a text, and I can't read the whole thing because I don't have it in front of me. It's on my phone, but was that the problem also with Frost at Nebraska was there were a lot of people didn't trust him. And you got Dave Aranda, all the players at Baylor, there may be one or two that are grumpy, whatever, but they trust him, right? Mm-hmm. And he said one of the things he's learned is there was just such a lack of trust among the players to him. And that because there might have been mixed messages that were thrown out the way.
Wow, I can't believe that they didn't have success with that type of incredible culture that was obviously instilled.
Well, there was something, there was obviously something missing. When something went wrong, there was always something missing. You don't lose that many close games. One, you do because you're not very good, or you don't have something is missing among the overall team that you just melt down every single time.
You know what it was? And for Scott Frost personally, too, you'd hear some things like, it was going to be tough for his family to leave Orlando because they liked the theme parks. And, it was going to be tough for his wife because she really liked living in Orlando. And I'm like, well, does she like making 3 times as much money? Those were all weird things. And it just kind of, whether that stuff is true or not, it was just kind of always around. And when coaches are winning and successful and a true fit for what they're doing, you don't hear that stuff, even if it's true. I'm sure there's coaches' wives, successful coaches' wives, that may miss the town that they came from compared to the one that they're in. Because, Manhattan, Kansas isn't as cool as Miami, but it is what it is.
Listen, I saw a note in the chat room about how do you get somebody to Lincoln? Same thing with Tuscaloosa, Norman, College Station, Ann Arbor. You have to give them a reason because, again, it's not the most beautiful place. It all depends on what you look at as beautiful. From Spencer, we got a break for our first guest. My issue with all these stories about Frost now is they're trying to make it look like he is the problem, not the program. Well, he has to be the problem. He's the head coach. And, yes, you're right. There are sometimes things that come out afterwards, and you start to wonder, where was that during the time he was there during the 5 years? And I get that as well. It's a pretty good point. But these were things that were obviously a problem.
Yeah, Nebraska's just trying to cleanse itself right now. They're trying to feel better about what they got rid of and all the things that he did not do right, and be excited about the guy, whoever that is going to follow him, and will do all those things, the small details down to the nuts and bolts. We'll do it the right way. I think it's just kind of natural. It's no different, really. I mean, Nebraska fired him, and they're still kind of lampooning him, but it's no different than you lose a really successful coach to a better job, or to, one of those, maybe being the NFL, for example, and that guy gets roasted on his way out. He won 10 games every year, but he didn't recruit that hard, and he didn't, put money in facilities, and he didn't do, even those guys. I guarantee you, if Saban left today, there's some Alabama fan out there be like, yeah, but he didn't win every year, so that's, no matter how a coach leaves, there's always that part of the fan base that's going to say what they need to say to make themselves feel better about why the program's better off, whether that's, a firing or going off to, like I said, greener pastures. So I can understand that. But, yeah, they have to look inside, and they can't make the mistake of thinking that it's all gone now, all those problems, just because that guy's gone. Clearly, he's not the only one that's had some of those problems, and clearly he's one of just many that have been line after line of trying to get this thing corrected. So, yeah, they got to look inward to be able to have some success outward for the first time in a long time.
So I don't see anything later on that 365 Sports is reporting anything. The Kalani Sitake note was from somebody who has been a part of college football coaching searches before and has been incredibly successful with them, who is no longer in the business. It was just his thought. It was not anything that is there, just someone throwing that out because of the fit, he thought. Not in any way, Day-Old Donuts. So just wanted you to know that. It's 3:44 when we come back. We'll have Chuck Landon, Huntington Herald-Dispatch. He covers Marshall, a columnist, and he's next on 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco, a hidden gem. And look, they're on DoorDash. So even if you feel that they're hidden, you can just go on DoorDash and find them and get what you need. Also, best selection of craft beers around. It's fall now. It doesn't feel like fall in Texas, but it's fall everywhere else in the world. So those fall brews are coming around. You can get them at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Not only that, the best selection of locally sourced whiskeys out there. TX, Devil's River, Balcones. Balcones is doing away with the Rumble, which is my favorite, which is a little depressing. So I might have to go down to Riverbend Liquor and Wine and clean out their stock. But Balcones always has new stuff coming out. They'll have it at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Not only Balcones, they also have Garrison Brothers. Anything that comes from Texas, they've got it at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. A speedy drive-through window, customer service that is second to none. And again, they're on DoorDash. Check out all their great specials on Instagram. They've got stuff going on all the time on Instagram, cool promotions and everything. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street behind the bank.
Looking for an SUV designed for every adventure? We've got exactly what you need at Allen Samuels in Waco. Stop in today to get your new 2022 Wagoneer. Save big on Series 2 and 3 and get the low APR of 2.9% for 72 months. Plus, you receive $3,500 Conquest bonus cash. Plus, first responders receive an extra $500 off. Drive away in the original American Premium SUV from Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
It's summertime. There's picnics, reunions, cookouts, and so much to do. And Waco Custom Marketplace on Lake Air Drive in Waco is your home for the butcher shop that can help you with beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. They are spectacular at being able to deliver you whatever cut of steak you want. Bone-in ribeye, however thick you want it, that's great. They'll do it. Sirloin, T-bone, porterhouse, bacon-wrapped filet. And, of course, as I mentioned, they have pork, poultry, and seafood. Their Norwegian salmon is spectacular. Also, all of the sauces and seasonings you'll ever need, all the ingredients you'll ever need to make sure you have that perfect, flawless taste. So it's delicious whenever you take something off the grill. And a full-fledged bakery as well, with fresh baked bread and kolaches every single day. Up and down the aisle of Waco Custom Marketplace, you also have what you need, from knickknacks to snacks to more, at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, Waco Custom Marketplace.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Chuck Landon on Twitter at Chuck on Sports. Huntington Herald Dispatch covers Marshall, a columnist who's seen them from for a long, long time. I'm not saying that means he's old, because I've seen a lot of things for a long, long time as well. Chuck, good afternoon. Thanks for being on with us. Paul, Craig, and I'm David Smoak. What has this week been like for Marshall after what they did in South Bend?
You know, it hasn't really been as cataclysmic as you might think. I mean, it was big, obviously, and a lot of people, you know, met the plane at the airport, you know, when it came back and this kind of stuff. And on Monday, the governor of West Virginia, who's a Marshall grad, came down and talked to the team and that kind of stuff. But other than that, that's kind of just been it. There's just a overall feeling of well-being among Marshall fans. They're happy campers right now.
How much does this springboard the rest of that season? This is a team full of transfers. Henry Colombi from Texas Tech. They have, 3 guys from FSU and all that. That getting this win in South Bend can help them make a run in the Sun Belt. Oh,
sure it can. They've got a tough schedule. You know, they've got two straight. You know, Notre Dame. They played 3 straight road games after playing a FCS school, and then after those 3 road games, they'll come back play another FCS school before they really hit the real meat of their schedule. They go to Bowling Green, which hasn't won a game on Saturday, and then the next game is at Troy down in Alabama. Troy is a tough out. I don't think Marshall's ever beaten Troy, home or away. So that's an interesting game.
Chuck, what were your thoughts going into the Notre Dame game about how Marshall might fare, and when over the course of Saturday did you go like, oh, wait a second, this is getting kind of real right now?
Well, you want honest? You want me to be honest?
Sure.
I picked them to lose 48-10.
Hey,
good for
you.
Hey,
understandable.
Yeah, I've been taking some crap around there. So no, I watched them during preseason, and the offensive line was just getting smoked by Marshall's defensive line, and I just questioned that really big time. And as it turned out, you know, Marshall's defensive line was really, really good, and it was apparently better than Notre Dame's because Marshall's offensive line didn't have any problem with Notre Dame.
You know, you've been there. In fact, Chuck, I was told by somebody that writes in the Sun Belt, you were there during the most awful time, right? The plane crash with Marshall as well.
Yeah, I lived in the dorm with all the football players that died in the crash.
Oh my Lord! Can you? I don't even know if you want to go back that time, but what was that like?
But you never forget it. You know, you never forget it. It was, you know. We found out about 10:30, something like that evening. And, of course, it was the first time the guys had ever gotten to fly. And so then we start hearing, you know, little snippets coming here and there. And then it was, you know, it was an all-night thing. We never went to bed that night. The phones were ringing off the hook of relatives calling in, wanting to know if their son was on the plane, you know, this kind of stuff. Like we had a defensive tackle that his last name was Brown. We called him Governor. And I answered his phone. It was his sister. And she wanted to know if he was on the plane. Well, yeah, I'm 19 years old. So I'm like, what am I going to tell this lady? You know? And that's the kind of stuff that was going on then. And we sat and had a prayer meeting at 5 a.m. And Reggie Oliver, who was the quarterback, there was 5 guys from Druid High School in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and he was a freshman. There wasn't freshman eligibility at the time. He was his 4 buddies had all died in the crash. And during the prayer meeting, we came to find out that Reggie hadn't called home to his parents and let them know that he wasn't on the plane, because they just assumed he was. They didn't understand freshman eligibility and that kind of stuff, you know. So it was a very somber and trying time, and it went on. It didn't just go away in a week or two. It went on and on and on for months after that, and years after that, to be honest.
We're talking to Chuck Landon. Huntington Herald Dispatch covers Marshall here with 365 Sports and Sikkim 365 Radio.
What has been your assessment of guys like Henry Columbi and the Kalen Laybourne and guys that have come in?
Oh, Henry, I really like Henry. Henry is a really good guy. He's very intelligent. He's very mature. It was funny because I covered WVU at Western University also. So, because our newspaper owns the newspaper in Charleston also, so they're more WVU oriented. Well, anyway, 2 years ago, I was in Morgantown covering it, and Henry led Texas Tech, went over W in Morgantown. So then he ends up back here. I'm like, come here, Henry, I got to ask you something. As in your wildest imagination, after beating WVU in Morgantown, did you ever, in your wildest imagination, ever think you would be coming back to West Virginia to live? And he goes, no way. Just no way.
That's awesome. The Sun Belt is getting a lot of praise, obviously, coming out of this weekend. They made a concerted effort in the midst of just crazy realignment where everybody else is saying, screw the state lines and geography. We're just going for the teams that we can get that'll bring the most eyeballs. The Sun Belt said, no, let's worry about geography. Let's have rivalries. Let's focus on that. I know the journey in the Sun Belt is still very fresh and very brand new right now. But what is it kind of like to be part of a conference that had a weekend like they just had? And what do you think of the makeup of this conference, especially moving forward?
Oh, I love the makeup of the conference. I mean, it renewed so many old rivalries for Marshall. I mean, they had a tremendous rivalry for years with Appalachian State. They had a tremendous rivalry with Georgia Southern, played them in national championship, 1AA national championship games. They played Troy. They've played so many schools that they have previous relationships with. So it just made so much sense at every level, and Keith Gill, the commissioner of Sunbelt, has just done a wonderful job. He's got that league really moving, and it's good for the fans because it's more of a regional conference now, and you can drive the games. And we're in Conference USA. Yeah, you can drive many games. Yeah, you can drive the games now, and that's just healthy for the fan bases.
Whenever you win, and you're not like one of the Blue Bloods or even the Logos, or even we saw a lot of coaches who were move on last year in a crazy offseason, there's going to be interest in Charles Huff. There's going to be interest in guys who win.
Oh, sure.
How can they keep that from being something that becomes a distraction?
Oh, let's be honest. If Charles Huff gets another offer, he's going to be gone. He's going to be gone. Everybody knows that here because he has no ties here whatsoever. None. He's from Maryland. He's been at Penn State. He's been all over the place. He was at Alabama, but he has no ties here. So if Virginia Tech, sniffed around him last year, and actually flew up here to have a little meeting with him, when they were looking for a coach. So there's no pretenses there. That we're going to go, okay, we're going to make an offer to keep him. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Amazing.
So
yeah,
that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, amazing the weekend of what Marshall did, what Appalachian State did, and then what Georgia Southern did. I loved it. I want chaos in college football, and I think that's just the first 1 week of it. Just absolute chaos.
Well, and what's fun is Appalachian State's head coach is a native West Virginian. He's from Charleston. I covered him in high school when he was playing for George Washington High School. We remained good friends all over the years, and his parents still live in West Virginia. And so, I mean, it's that kind of a scenario where you know everybody, and it's kind of fun.
So, Chuck, coming up this weekend, they'll be at Bowling Green, and the machine moves on, as they say. A long way to go. Season doesn't end after the big upset, but just what's kind of your synopsis of Marshall moving forward, and how, if in any way, does that Notre Dame win now change maybe the thought process behind the rest of the schedule?
Well, the interesting thing is, they got Laybourne from Florida State. He hadn't played football in 2 years And this is his 6th year they got him. And he was supposed to be the backup because they have a young man named Raheem Ali who just set the college football on its ear last year. I mean, he rushed for 1,400 yards. He led nation in touchdowns and all this. Well, he's been injured. That's why Laburn's playing. He's been injured. Well, now he practiced yesterday for the first time since his injury. And he's not, as far as I know, he's not going to play this week, but he may be available for Troy or pretty soon coming down the road. So you add him to this package now, and who knows, what they could do running the ball with a 1-2 punch like those two guys.
Chuck, thank you. Appreciate your time. Great stuff. Huntington Herald-Dispatch, longtime columnist, has covered that area, also Marshall football, and with us on 365 Sports. We will check in with David Ware from App State at 247, App State Mania on their win in College Station at 5 o'clock. Coming up next, former Baylor wide receiver and sideline reporter Ricky Thompson, Sikkim, 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick, GMC, Cadillac, they are the people that you can count on. They are the people that I've counted on multiple occasions to ensure that my car is driving well, to ensure that everything that needs to be taken care of and monitored and refilled or whatever, all of that gets done, and I drive away from the dealership with a car that's in good health and something that I can be confident in driving. And they want you to be confident in what you're driving as well. The wait is over. Richard Carr has GMC trucks in stock. 2022 GMC Sierras have hit the lot, and they are waiting for you to come on by to get in a test drive today. They've got the Sierras offering the best-in-class towing, a strong steel bed, multi-pro tailgate, advanced collision avoidance, and a luxurious interior that includes massive touchscreens, 14 camera views, and premium comfort. So the trucks are waiting for you to test drive. Get to the dealership and get into your next truck today. But if the exact truck or SUV that you're looking for is not available, not on the lot, get on their inbound vehicle list, and you can cut in line for trucks that are in production but not quite in stock. Or let them help you design the exact truck or SUV you want, and Richard Carr will have GMC prioritize the vehicle for you. Richard Carr has new trucks like the Sierras on the lot, but also dozens of quality pre-owned cars and trucks in stock as well. All pre-owns go through a 172-point inspection, and with dozens of lending options, Richard Carr says yes to loans when others say no. So if you want to drive your current car longer, make sure that they get that award-winning collision and service repair going, and they will take care of you there. If you're looking for a new vehicle like the Sierras, well, they've got those now on the lot. If you're looking for something a little bit different, well, as I said, they'll go all the way to helping customize it for you as best they can. So whatever you're looking for, Richard Carr is available to do business and do business with great customer service, because after all, they are the people that you can count on. So for 23 years in Central Texas, they've been doing business and building their reputation as just that, the people you can count on for your automotive needs. Richard Carr, run by proud Waco's proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Shaping into the end zone. Room service. Ben Sims with the touchdown. Wide open.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
4 o'clock hour starts with former Baylor receiver, former NFL receiver, and also Baylor sideline reporter Ricky Thompson, who joins us on 365 Sports with Craig, Paul, and I'm David Smoak. Ricky, thanks for your time. What happened to the passing game at Brigham Young?
Oh, man, wouldn't we all like to know? I just think that part of that is, we've talked about throughout the year the experience of this football team. But one of those areas that's not experienced is this receiving core. And I just think maybe there was some tentative routes back there. I think maybe not full speed. Running routes on Friday and running them on Saturday is two different things. And this was a hostile crowd, a lot of noise. And I think there was some effects of that there. And I'm guessing this week was spent some with these guys about how to run routes, how to run them full speed, how to get open, and how to be ready and make a target for Blake Shapen. And I don't know that for a fact. That's just a perception that I saw. And I think sometimes that will create some hesitancy in the QB to let the ball fly. Remember last year, you had a guy named Taquan Thornton, Estrada, R.J. Sneed. These were experienced guys. You knew where they were going to be. You knew if you threw the ball, they were going to catch it. And I think maybe just a case of a really inexperienced receiving core in a really big game with a really hostile crowd. I don't think it's anything that can't be cured, but I just think that may have been a factor Saturday night.
What do you think about the offensive line who did not have one of their better games? I mean, it wasn't tragic or abysmal or anything like that, but that was where they won the game last year, Ricky, and I think this is where BYU flipped it on its ear this year.
No question. I think they flipped it last year. BYU was running a defensive front. If you really looked at it that had 3 guys parked on one side and 2 on the other, and we ran it down their throat on the weak side of the ball, and they never adjusted the entire game. This time, I think what you saw was guys, even on first and second down, run blitz, and they were going to take it away. So in that regard, I think the offensive line had a tough job ahead of them, but not one of their A performances. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I bet Eric Mateos has had a good week with those guys, explaining that to them very well. And we know what they can do. We've seen it. And I think you will. As tough a loss as this is, I mean, we just got to think you can't let one game foul up your entire season. And I remember one last year that looked pretty ugly too at Oklahoma State, and that developed into a pretty good football team. So we'll see where they go. Got a lot of confidence in this staff, and I think they've made these guys aware by now that they did not play their best football and probably still should have won that game.
Ricky, the offensive line had its ups and its downs, as you just mentioned. Everybody did in that game on Saturday, and included quarterback Blake Shapen. How much do you attribute his struggles to some of what was going on in the exterior as far as, dealing with all he was dealing with, just first time in a situation like that, crowd, everything that was going on there, but also the play of his teammates? And how much do you look at his performance and say, okay, there's where Blake in particular needs to do better in this regard?
Well, Craig, I think everything you said is on the money. I think it was a combination of, on occasions, he didn't have quite the time that he should have had. I think there were occasions when he didn't have receivers where they needed to be on full speed routes. And then I think there were a couple times when maybe Blake bailed out of the pocket too early. I think we saw him come out of there running pretty quickly 2 or 3 times where I thought maybe he could have checked down, gotten rid of the ball, protected himself. And I don't know, I thought maybe even a couple of times maybe he should have pulled the ball when they were running the counter or the wide zone. And it looked to me like, and it's easy for me to say standing over there, that he had 10, 15 yards before anybody would have even looked at him. Now, he also may have been told, don't pull it. So I don't know if we put that on Blake or who we put it on, but I just think they got a lot of experience and a lot of film out of that game, and would be really surprised if there aren't some adjustments made.
I'm not trying to discuss or question the decision of Shapen as the starter. I think they made the right decision. But was that specific game more of a Gary Bohannon type style?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay.
Because I think Blake can run. I mean, he's got speed. Now, Smoak, he's not 225 pounds, and he can't take these guys on, and he needs to go back to his shortstop days and learn when to slide, because we've seen him try to take on some guys, and that hadn't turned out real well for him. So, but I do think, going back to what I said, there were some occasions there where maybe Blake could have changed the game just by holding the ball. Put it in the guy's stomach, whoever it was, Tay McWilliams, whoever the running back was, pull it out, and there was some running room there. And I think the later the game went and the further you got into the fourth quarter, I think Brigham Young was even looking less at that, and they were bringing 7 in the box, and they were run blitzing, and it was going to be hard to run the football, which to me, it's amazing we ran it as well as we did, the way they were blitzing and with our ineffectiveness in the passing game. I think maybe running the football was a little better than it could have been. But I think you've got to let Blake run the football some, and we know you're going to protect him. There's no question about that. But I just don't think you can protect guys to the point where it affects your game plan. Does that make sense? I mean, I think you've got to take chances and let these guys play, and injuries are just something that's a risk of this game, and I don't think you protect injury to the point where it affects your game plan.
And Ricky, that leads me perfectly into Squirrel Williams. You can try and protect him, but ultimately he's got to either be able to run the football or not be healthy. And he was out there career high by a large margin in terms of carries. In the media session yesterday, he's like, hey, I'm not going to tell him to not give me the ball. Like, hey, basically saying, bring it on. What did you see from him? And ultimately, is he the X factor, do you think, for this offense?
I think he can be. I think in spite of the injuries, he's a tough little dude. I mean, the major knee injury was non-contact, so he's not scared to get hit. When he hurt his knee against Iowa State last year, he's out in open field and his knee just blew out, and that can happen to anybody.
Right.
I think the guy's tough. I think you running the overtime run down to the 6-inch line.
Yeah,
that was a game winner, if not for a hold. And I think actually the hold was about 3 yards behind the carry.
It was,
so
yeah.
It was not necessary, and you're not going to blame anybody for hustling and trying to get a block. But my point is, I don't know of another running back on that team that makes that run other than Squirrel. And if you'll remember, BYU ends up missing a field goal. You win the ball game because I just refuse to believe we don't get it in with 4 chances from the 6-inch line. Actually, his feet hit the pylon, so I don't know exactly where they would have marked the ball, but I was standing there, and he was close to being in. So, I think Squirrel deserves more carries. I think he'll get those. And, if he comes up with some kind of injury that keeps him out a week or two, he just does. I think you've got to take the benefit of his abilities, and I sure like what I see. I don't know about y'all.
Oh, yeah. He's a difference maker. Yeah, for sure.
Rick, they're not going to play. I mean, they have a lot more tough road games ahead. Iowa State, West Virginia, a place they've never won before. Texas, OU, Lubbock. I mean, all those places are on the schedule this year. Do you think that the fact that they were wide-eyed and really maybe not mature enough for the moment this week will pay off down the line because that was a place that is tough to play?
Absolutely. I just know from personal experience, and I don't know. I always like to play on the road. To me, sometimes there was less pressure on the road than there was at home. And I just think that they'll overcome that. I thought it affected our snap count. They'll get past that sort of stuff. And once you've done it once and you see that there's really nobody in the stands that can come out there and throw a rock at you or anything, that you're going to be fine. And I think that's a great experience for them. It's still all on the field. It doesn't matter who's in the stands other than the noise, which can affect the snap count. But I think those guys learned a lot. And I still go back to the fact, while this is an experienced football team across the board, not really as experienced as last year, because you had secondary that was back that was very experienced. You had receivers that had played a lot of football. And that's not the case this year. Running back Abram Smith, maybe he wasn't that experienced, but he was fifth-year guy that had been a running back. So we had a lot of guys in Provo that had not faced anything like that before. And I have to think that had an effect on our performance. And I also think that Dave Aranda, if I know him like I think I do, that's not going to be an excuse for these guys going forward.
No, yeah, I think that he and the players the last 2 days have just gotten all that out of their system and talked, at length about, they were definitely, affected by all of that. The big eyes, I'm sure you saw those on the sidelines. You've been on a lot of sidelines. You've been on a lot of different fields. What was that atmosphere like on Saturday night?
I was surprised. It was really good. I thought their fans did a great job of being loud. I mean, we're in the second overtime at whatever time it was. It felt like it's 2:30 in the morning, but I don't know that anybody left. They were all still there. They were very loud. I thought it was a great crowd. I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good place to play. Would look forward to playing there again. And I'll say it one more time. As poorly as we played in some areas, we had every chance to win that football game. I thought with 3 minutes to go when we're driving with the ball, I thought we were going to go down at a minimum and get a field goal and win it right there in regulation. I really did. Then first and goal at the 5, second overtime, you score there, go for 2, you win the game. The first overtime, we had Squirrels run that could have won the game. I mean, in spite of the difficulty of the crowd and playing a really good football team, the one thing we did show is we were capable of winning that type game. We just didn't make the play to do it.
The missed extra point, when you think about it early in the game, you wouldn't even have gone to overtime potentially.
Well, yeah. What a killer. I mean, you get a bad snap, the kick hits the upright. It was still close to going through, and then you get a guy misses the field goal at the end of the game, you win 21-20.
Yeah,
and it's just.
I thought the missed extra point followed up by them driving down, and Hall was fantastic to Roberts and scoring 7. That's an 8-point swing right there. Yeah,
what a killer. And when he, I don't know if y'all noticed it, but when he took that chance throwing the ball, there were 2 seconds left when he caught it.
Mm-hmm.
So that came close to not, you run the clock out, throwing an incomplete pass, we go in 6-3. But, yeah, that was a game changer. There's no question. And it was a perfect throw, by the way. And the guy was no question inbound.
Yeah.
It was just a good play.
Ricky, do you lose anything, any kind of confidence after a loss, even if you played head up against another really, really good football team on the road? Is there a little bit of concern about maybe losing a little bit of that confidence and that, not swagger, but that feeling?
Yeah, there can be. I think absolutely. And I think that's really important for these coaches and these players to overcome that this week. I don't think you can take very long to do that, but absolutely, you're ranked 10th in the nation. You go in and win that, or 9th in the nation. You go in and win that game. You probably bump up a couple of spots because of some other losses. So instead of being maybe 7, you're 17. Absolutely, there's disappointment, and I think you still have a conference race and the ability to be Big 12 champions. That loss had nothing to do with it. And I promise you go back up in the rankings, you start winning football games. To me, you can't overlook games. We've got to win Saturday, first of all. You got to go out and beat Texas State. You need to do it soundly. Right now, the key to the year is winning at Iowa State, in my opinion. I just think that's one you have to win.
Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate it. Ricky Thompson, former Baylor receiver, sideline reporter with us. Love the insight we get from Ricky and JJ throughout the week, plus the analysts we have daily on this show. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to hear from Matt Tate. He covers KU. The huge win, the walk-off, really could have intercepted it and gone down to his knees, but why not emphatically win it by running it back the other way in overtime against West Virginia?
I don't think he was just running.
Oh, I love it. You could have just slid, you could have gone to your knees, could have done anything, thrown it out of bounds, dropped it.
I think in that moment, you just go straight Forrest Gump and just keep running and running and running.
Yeah, like right out of the end zone, like who was the receiver for Miami against Texas in the Cotton Bowl that one year? Randall Hill just poof right up the tunnel.
Didn't he have to go to the bathroom? I think that was the story. It was that he caught the ball and he ran like straight into the little bathroom.
I think he got penalized for it. Of course, they had about 15 unsportsmanlike penalties in that particular game. Thanks to Ricky Thompson for being a part of the show. It's 4:22, bottom of the hour again. We'll have Matt Tate covers Kansas. Had him on a lot for basketball season, the great run that KU had, but also that they've started off the way they have. And we'll get feedback from him. Next, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
The wait is over. Richard Carr, GMC has the trucks. 2022 GMC Sierras have hit the lot and are waiting for you. Sierra trucks offer best-in-class towing, strong steel bed, multi-pro tailgate, advanced collision avoidance, and a luxurious interior that includes massive touchscreens, 14 camera views, and premium comfort. Trucks are waiting for you to test drive now. So call now, log in now, or get here now and drive your next truck at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozer's and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozer's. Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Kansas at West Virginia with a dramatic walk-off seal interception to win it. Matt Tate, Lawrence Journal, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, Lawrence Journal World. Matt, how's it been in Lawrence after that? I love what I see from Lance Leipold. I know it's early, but just the fact they emphatically went in and won that game.
Yeah, I mean, people are excited, man. You know, obviously they're feeling really good inside the program, but even around town, you start to hear people being less afraid to talk a little optimistically about football. You know, there's a big game this weekend down in Houston, and it was one of those that in the preseason looked like it was going to be a, slaughter, and KU was going to go down and lose by 4 or 5 touchdowns, and they still could, but it certainly looks like what they've done through 2 weeks gives them a chance to go down there and compete, and I think they're going to go down there and expect to win. And so then you start getting the fans to think about that, and then they think, well, what if they do win, and they're 3-0, and then they come home and play Duke, and good God, we've never seen that in 10, 12 years, So there's definitely a buzz building. I wouldn't say it's, full on fevered pitch or anything like that. But all of my stories, all of my videos, all of the conversations I'm having, they're all getting a lot more attention. And that's because people see something they like and they actually believe it's legitimate for a change. So if you're Kansas, if you're Lance, you couldn't have asked for a better start. There's no question about it.
Does the offense pretty much give them an opportunity to give everybody headaches? I mean, I know they're not really getting in a lot of people's way right now based on that West Virginia game, but as far as the offense goes, they're electric.
Yeah, they are. And that's legitimate. Now, as the season goes on and starting with this weekend, they're going to get a lot more of a feel for just how good the offense is. I mean, right now they lead the freaking country in scoring, and that's not going to last, I don't think. They also haven't surrendered a single sack. That's not going to last either. But I don't think anybody expects or needs them to score 55 points and no sacks, to feel good about it. So what they're doing is working. They've got some receivers that can spread the field. They've got a terrific running game with 3-4 backs they can give the ball to. Jalen Daniels has been as good as anybody at quarterback and is the leader of the team, and both from the standpoint of running the show offensively, but also as the heartbeat, sort of that vibe. And he's a talented kid. He's a competitive kid, and everybody's sort of falling in line right there with him. So I think their offense, in addition to having a bunch of tough kids that are playing hard and playing well, their offensive coordinator's pretty good. Andy Kotelnicki is his name, and he's been with Leipold forever. He's really good. I mean, he knows how to mix things up. They always talk about being as multiple as they possibly can be. And, he's shown that they're not afraid to run any kind of personnel combination or package out there. They disguise things pretty well. And he has a good feel for how to call a game too. So I think I saw today some of West Virginia's coaches that were talking about, they only saw the same formation 4 times in that game. And I think they said they ran 7 plays out of that formation, but everything else was different. And that's hard to prepare for. I mean, there's no two ways about it. If you execute and you're that multiple like that, it can give defenses fits and if nothing else, keep you in a game. So I think their offense has a lot of confidence right now. It has a lot of talent, and again, it's not going to score 55 plus a game, but I do think that they're gonna move forward feeling like they can score on anybody. And so you guys know how it goes. I mean, confidence can be a crazy thing. I mean, the next thing you know, you start believing something, and it actually starts playing out the way you believe it. So they're on the cusp of that right now, and I think they know that these were 2 of the easier games on their schedule, but what can you do? All you can do is win them, and they've done that. So the real fun starts this week.
When did you get the sense that they had found their guy at quarterback, which is obviously a tremendous step in moving forward to having the type of success that they're having now?
Yeah, you know what? It was long before now. I mean, this Jalen Daniels, I talked to him before he even got to campus as a freshman, the summer before he got here for his freshman season, which would have been 2020. And, he's a 17-year-old kid out in California, and it was one of the more interesting and engaging conversations, especially with him like that, that I can remember having. I came away thinking, that kid's legit. He's mature. He's got charisma. He's got personality. He's obviously driven and motivated and a really good young man. And so if he even has a lick of talent, he's going to have a chance to be something. You certainly don't expect anybody to come in here and be the next Todd Reesing or a Heisman candidate or anything crazy like that. I mean, they're just not there yet. And that Todd Reesing bar is pretty high, but he's the best that I've seen. And 2 reasons why. He's got legit talent. He works his butt off. I mean, this is a kid who just doesn't settle on anything. I mean, he was pretty good last year, and he worked so much harder in the off season to be better than that. And to make sure that he wasn't just, resting on his laurels and thinking, oh, okay, I did all right. I went down and beat Texas. Cool. I've arrived. He knew he was going to need to be better for them and him to go where they want to go. So, he works his butt off, and he's not afraid to put in that time and work, both from a mental and physical standpoint. But the other reason that I think he's legit is because he thinks he's legit. I mean, he carries himself. If you watch him, TV, sideline, whatever it is, if you watch him, you will come away thinking that kid thinks he's the best quarterback in the Big 12 and maybe the best quarterback in the country. And, right or wrong, who am I to say? Who are you guys to say, right? The numbers, the stats, that'll say it for him. But to me, when you see a kid carry themselves that way in any sport, but certainly at quarterback, that puts you in the game for being something special. And then if you can go out and back it up, then you probably are something special. So to me, it's as much about that preparation and the work he puts in and how that meshes with just his own self-confidence and belief in himself and swagger. I mean, he feels like he's a big deal. And if he keeps playing like this, he will be.
Yeah, it's great. It's interesting as well. And then, of course, there's always this part, and I don't like this part. We've seen Baylor deal with this, among others. When you're a program that wins, that has it, and somebody all of a sudden starts to do what Coach Leipold's done, then there are the whispers about what is next. Has that been a distraction? Will that be a distraction? Will Leipold be able to kind of just tamp that down pretty good about where he's going if, in fact, others start reaching out to him?
it's certainly a story right now because he's showed up on a few national lists, watch lists, projections, whatever you want to call them, for that Nebraska job. And look, I think it's something that should be taken seriously. I think his wife's from Omaha. He spent time at Nebraska in the early 2000s. In addition to that, he was a coach at Nebraska Omaha for a long time. It's an area that's familiar to him, and it's Nebraska. It's a place that's going to put a lot of resources into trying to build itself back up, and a lot of money. And you're also in the Big Ten, and that's where everybody wants to be right now. So, I think if they were to come calling, I think it would be really hard for him to turn it down. Having said that, though, I don't know that he'll be their first choice. I mean, in order for it to be a distraction, and in order for this to be a problem or something that KU fans need to worry about, Nebraska's got to decide they want him. And I think he would be a guy they'll consider. I think he would be a guy that could maybe even land in their top 5. But I think there will be other guys offered. And as long as those guys don't say no, look, if Nebraska gets 2 or 3 guys to turn them down, Lance Leipold is absolutely in the mix. But I don't know that they will. I think they're going to pay a lot. I think they have a plan. They wouldn't have fired Scott Frost when they did. They wouldn't have given him the extra $7.5 million instead of waiting a few weeks. I think they must have some kind of plan. And while that could be Lance, I don't know that it you could convince me that it is. But again, I think they'll take a look at him, and so much of it is going to be, how this year plays out, because it's been a great start and they're 2-0, but let's say they finish, 1-9 the rest of the way. Well, then they're 3-9. And I don't care how good of a program builder he is or how good of a fit he would be. You're not hiring the 3-9 Kansas coach to come to Nebraska and save the day. I mean, that's suicide for your donors. You're just not going to sell that. So that part probably keeps KU in a good position. Even if he were to get to 4 or 5 wins, I still think it's a hard sell. I mean, Nebraska is Nebraska. They still believe they're that elite black shirts team of the 90s with Tom Osborne, and we all know they're not, but they believe that, and the fan base does. And the last thing they want is the freaking Kansas coach to come be their next coach. So I don't know that KU needs to panic or worry, but I do know that they love him here. And I also know that this administration believes they made a great hire when they picked this guy up, and that if it were to become something that would have some legs, I think KU would step up and do everything it can to try to entice him not to leave. And, maybe you just can't compete with the paycheck or whatever, but I don't think they would just roll over and say, oh, there's nothing we can do. I think they'd fight to keep him. All that said, I think it's no distraction at all. I mean, I asked him point blank about it yesterday, if he had any reaction to being on those lists. And, he dismissed it with 8-10 words. I mean, he said, just like you'd expect anybody to say, he said, I'm focused on this football team and getting ready for Houston. And so it's out there. It's a thing. It's not going away. But the way this guy's wired, as tight as his coaching staff is, and as much buy-in as there is with this team, and how much they love their coaches, and also how much they're enjoying this start, I just can't see it being a distraction for these guys. Really not at all. So, we'll see where it goes from here. But it's definitely worth keeping an eye on.
Matt, and one thing I think maybe most people around the country may not know is that Kansas has made like a bigger commitment to football financially than they have in a long time, haven't they? Trying to get the facilities upgraded and stadium and making everything good for whatever conference they may be in. I know a lot of Kansas fans think that the Big Ten is one day going to come a-calling, but right now it's about being good and making the Big 12 better.
There's no question. And yeah, in addition to the commitment to football in that sense, they gave Lance Leipold a 1-year extension the day before this year's first game. I mean, they've liked what they've seen already, and he's won 2 games heading into that, and they already extended him, So there's a willingness there for them to commit. And I think part of what I was just talking about with the idea of KU, trying to entice him to stay if it comes to that, I think it's not just about his salary and the paycheck. I mean, this is a guy who understands exactly what you were just talking about. And I think if KU could present a plan to Lance that says, hey, look, here's what we're going to do with the facilities. Here's what we're going to do with this. Here's what we're going to do with that. Here's what we're going to do with the NIL stuff. This is where you want to be, man. No reason for you to go anywhere. And if that was a convincing enough plan, which I think it could be and probably would be, then I think that might in and of itself be enough for him to say, yeah, I'm good here. Let's keep building this thing. And, so it's not just about Nebraska can pay him more because they can. I mean, at this point, you read the things. I mean, it sounds like they're willing to go to $7, $8, $10 million even for the right guy. Lance is making 2.8 here, something like that. That's more than almost triple, So it's not just about that. It's about him feeling like this place is going to grow with him and they'll build this thing together, not just building players and a competitive team, but also building the whole program up and getting the buy-in from everyone around here that says football's cool again. Football's a thing to do. We like football as much as we like basketball. Now, that's a pretty big wish, but I think it could happen. And back in those Todd Reesing days, 2007, 2008, we saw it happen. That place was rocking every weekend, and this town was full of life and loved football a lot, man. So it's not crazy to think he would want to stay here. They just have to show him why and be convincing in the fact that, they're actually going to do some stuff. But look, the facility stuff, they're so far down the road there. Every AD that's come through here in the last 10 years has kicked this around and tried to position for making moves on the stadium and all that stuff. But it's just been so hard because the product's been so rough. But there's some momentum now, and I think they've made some serious progress in planning and getting things, lined up so that as soon as they get some money, let's start bulldozing things and get going. So it's an exciting time around Kansas football right now.
Matt, coming up this weekend, taking on Houston. Houston's played in 5 overtimes already at this point through 2 games, 1-1 after falling to Tech, but being able to eke out the Week 1 win against UTSA. I don't know that this would have been like a highly anticipated game, but because of Kansas's start, it's definitely a game that I think is of major interest. What do you think about the Jayhawks traveling down to Houston? The matchup itself. What are you kind of looking at with Cougs and Jayhawks?
Yeah, well, it's massive because it's another road test. It's a game that they believe they can win all of a sudden. And more than that, I think not only do you get to test yourself against Houston, but Houston just played Texas Tech to overtime, and that's another team on your schedule down the road. And so you get to, you get to kind of measure up, well, where do we stack up, not just against the team we're going to play, but against a couple of teams that are relevant to our season and things of that nature. So I think it's a big game for sure. I think the lukewarm national interest around it makes sense. I mean, Houston was a pretty popular team coming in, they're a play away from being 2-0 themselves, and they've shown that they have some talent. I think for me, it's the offensive line of Kansas against the defensive front of Houston. I mean, that's the big key. Obviously, Jalen Daniels needs to play well, and KU's offense needs to keep rolling, and KU's defense is going to have to find a way to get a couple of stops as they did last week. Not a bunch, but a couple. But for me, it's Houston's defensive front is so good. They've got that Derek Parrish kid who's got 4 sacks, and then a couple, half sacks or whatever they are. And he really jumps out at you when you watch them play. And as I said, KU hasn't given up a sack yet. And there's a guy with, a credit of 5 in 2 games right there. So he'll push them. And he's got some other dudes that are very athletic, very fast up front with him that will give this line and KU's offense a big challenge. And if they can hold up, I like Kansas's chances. I think that they have enough playmakers and enough, again, confidence right now that says they can play with anybody. And but we've all seen it, whether it's the NFL or Von Miller with the Broncos ruining Cam Newton's career, or Derek Thomas with the Chiefs back in the day, or LT back in the day. I mean, you guys have seen defensive linemen totally ruin offenses and wreck a game. And Parrish and some of his teammates there up front, they have that potential. So KU is going to have to be really good, really physical up front. And if they're not, they'll probably come home with a 2-1 record. And if they can handle that, then, they got a chance to go 3-0 and really bring some buzz to this place. But, I wrote this last week after they beat West Virginia. That win was so massive because now it doesn't really even matter what they do at Houston. The best case scenario is they come home after beating Houston and they're playing Duke with a chance to go to 4-0. But even if they lose to Houston, the worst case scenario all of a sudden is they come home and they have a chance to go to 3-1 by beating Duke. And 3-1 by Kansas standards is no joke. And even if they were to lose an ugly game maybe this weekend, I think if they could bounce right back and put a little beating on Duke, I think people will go, okay, wow, 3-1. This is pretty cool. So they've got a lot to play for. There's a lot to gain, and I think win or lose, they're in as good a spot as I've seen Kansas football be in a long time.
Matt, thank you as always. Matt Tate, Lawrence Journal-World, KU and the win at West Virginia and the way it went down. Houston this week, obviously, it's. I said from the beginning, I just felt, and it's not because I'm by any means good at predictions, I just felt they would be better than just stunning one team or winning a game in the Big 12. I just had a feeling that they were going to be better, and would that transform into wins and losses? I don't know, but it appears as if, you know what, maybe they do make a run and possibility of flirt with a bowl team. Maybe they are. I don't know, but that was one hell of a win in Morgantown.
Yeah, it was. And it's we haven't talked about the other side of that very much this week for West Virginia, which I think is equally as big a story. Is not Kansas might be good again. It's that West Virginia and Neil Brown are they're on shaky ground together.
Yeah, it does appear to be that way. Yeah, that was a bad loss, and especially for a program that when they make the change, they add Graham Harrell, all that, and he might now be number one on the hot seat, rather now that Scott Frost is no longer at Nebraska. This is 365 Sports, Sikkim 365 Radio. If you are looking for an SUV designed for every part of an adventure, Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, they have that. Stop in today, stop by their dealership, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco, and get your 2022 Wagoneer. Save big on Series 2 and 3. Get the low APR of 2.9% for 72 months, plus you receive $3,500 in Conquest bonus cash. Plus, first responders get an extra $500. Ask for more details from Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. You also have the ability, the Crew Cab, the 2022 Ram 1500 Crew Cab. The Lone Star Edition, total values of $6,500, and get $1,700 in bonus cash plus 2.9%, 72 months. So values of $6,500 or $1,750 bonus cash, 2.9% for 72 months. And then you can go 0% for 72 months as an option as well. Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, east of Loop 340, east of 84 in Waco.
We're fighting hard at Pickup Outfitters in our battle to end truck nudity. But it's not just about putting an outfit on a naked truck, it's about making sure you have the very best customer service. So we offer the Pickup Outfitters Lifetime Installation Guarantee. Over time, sometimes your outfit needs a little tune-up, maybe some tightening, adjusting, whatever. If you outfitted your truck at Pickup Outfitters, that tune-up is absolutely no charge for the remainder of the time you own that truck. We also offer free warranty assistance. If for any reason you need to use your warranty, you just bring it back to us and we take care of it. It just makes sense. I mean, operating without a promise like that would be like offering customer service in the nude. And if you've seen our staff, trust me, you don't want that. So do your part to end truck nudity by outfitting your truck, Jeep, SUV, or van at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, where we promise to serve you fully clothed. Check out our website, createacommotion.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? by not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference, and that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Want more updates during the day? Follow 365 Sports YT on Twitter.
5 o'clock hour is pretty busy. David Ware, who is covering Appalachian State, their football practice, in fact, right now, will join us at just after 5. John Machota at around 5:35, and in between that, UTSA football coach Jeff Traylor will join us at around 5:20. Again, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. I have gotten away from the chat room for quite some time and would love to get your feedback. What, in your opinion, and we'll read it on the air, and I'll check the text line as well for Paul Craig and also for me, is the biggest game this weekend, and what is today the biggest story right now still in college football based on what just happened or what might happen or anything that surrounds the game itself. I love the Matt Tate segment. That you could tell they're just having the best time right now with KU football.
Yeah, I mean, they enjoy it while it lasts because I don't know that it's going to. I mean, like he said, it's been a couple games. It's been a couple of games. It's not like we're 6 weeks into this thing, but given all the suffering that Kansas fans have had, I'm glad they're able to enjoy this. It's a great win last weekend, and West Virginia is certainly now the team reeling in the Big 12, trying to figure out, what comes next. And I don't think they're a bad team by any stretch. I just think West Virginia's had an awful string of luck and just, ran into a couple pretty good teams. And it's not, an indictment on Neil Brown, and if they were to fire him, like all of a sudden the program's going to be great again. I think West Virginia's just kind of in a funky sort of purgatory kind of area right now where they're not really one thing or the other. I think they're, over the course of the season, we'll figure out a lot more about them, but they're good enough to win some games. They just got to maintain their confidence now, because I'm sure that's part of the battle, is just the mental side of having lost a couple of really tough games and hearing all the outside noise about your coach and, those things. So if they can, block that out, then I think West Virginia is definitely going to be, somebody that everybody's going to have to worry about dealing with. But for KU, that's just, I wasn't expecting that necessarily last week. I also wasn't, saying there's no chance of it happening because of kind of where West Virginia is right now. But that was awesome to see. Jalen Daniels is a great player. Devin Neal's a great player. They've got other talent as well, but those are the two guys offensively that have really sort of led the charge in this resurgence where they are a threat to score some points on you. So I'm very curious how it goes the rest of the way. There's 10 games left at minimum, and there's only going to be louder and louder noise from the outside the more that they have success. They haven't had to deal with that in a while. How do they deal with that? And if they're well accustomed to deal with it, and Lance Leipold, keeps them focused on what the focus needs to be, then they're going to have a great run, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see where that puts them at the end of the year. Because can you imagine them making a bowl game? Like, that would be insane given where we were the last few years. And not necessarily shocked, because that's ultimately where you think Leipold can take them, or I think a lot of people do, but it'll be a lot quicker than I think people expected to have it, in year two.
Yeah. And I think, going back to Neil Brown a little bit, he was already, in hot water in West Virginia. And then it doesn't help, regardless of how legitimate the losses are, to lose to the one team that West Virginia fans would give up a vital organ that you beat them all the time in Pittsburgh, because that's, even though they don't play that every year anymore, the border, the backyard brawl is just such a huge deal. To lose that game and then to turn around and to lose to the doormat of the conference back to back just is such a bad look. Whether he needs to go or not, it's a bad look for Neil Brown. It's hard to overcome because the noise will be, it's not about, well, he's developing this and he's developing that. It's like, okay, develop me a win against Pittsburgh and not losing to Kansas. Like, that's what the fans will want.
Yeah, no, it's a the West Virginia fan comment earlier of like, I promise we're a good team. I promise we are. Like, Bryce Ford Wheaton's a lot of fun to watch. Like, they've got talented players on that team. I think you can see that. I think you saw that against Pitt. It's not like that KU game was a blowout. I understand that people see that and they're like, oh my gosh, but it was an overtime game. It was a game that, went extras and they had to, somebody had to be the loser in that situation. But yeah, it sucks. It sucks that you're the team that has to be the example that Kansas is back. It sucks that you have to be the team that loses the rivalry game when it's the first time it's being played in forever. But that's just part of the gig, man, and that's part of the deal. And Neil Brown knew coming in this season that there was going to be some talk and there's going to be a seat that could get very hot very quickly if things didn't go right. And so far, they haven't gone right. And so it's his job to try and correct that, and we'll see if they can. But I don't think that they're just some down in the dumps, like talentless, no drive, no anything type of program. I don't think that's what West Virginia is. I just think that they're just kind of they're not good enough to be good and know that they're good, and they're not bad enough to be horrible. They're just kind of right there in no man's land right now, and that's a tough place to be.
Story that was on SI.com about West Virginia when Neil Brown, let's see, this was in April of 2021, a 2-year extension for head coach Neil Brown, states that if Brown is fired before January 1st of 2023, the buyout would be around $20 million.
Well, there you go.
If they wait until after that, the buyout drops to about $16.7 million. We just saw a Proud program that is no longer very good say, we could wait 20 days and save $7.5 million, but it's so bad right now, we don't care how much it's going to cost. We have to fire Scott Frost, a legend within the program. It was so bad and getting worse that they said we're going to eat $7.5 million instead of waiting an extra 3 weeks. $20 million.
I might, backtrack on this in like 2 weeks, but let's let, some more time play out for Neil Brown. Like, it's 2 weeks in. They've lost to a hated rival who's a good team. Pitt is a good team. And they lost to a, growing with confidence and getting better Kansas team in an overtime game. So let's see where they are. But yeah, if they look up in a couple weeks and they're 0-4, then that's problematic. But we're not quite to, I think, just making a final determination, but definitely flirting with it for sure.
A couple of notes. Arnie Duncan on Twitter made a comment when Nebraska fired Scott Frost, and I see this a lot. They paid him $15 million not to coach again. How about teachers, et cetera? Scott Dockerman with theathletic.com. From the moment Nebraska entered the Big Ten through the 2021 fiscal year, Nebraska athletics has taken in $0 in general funds. And in fact, they have given $50.2 million to the University General Fund over the same time frame. Only year it didn't give back was the COVID year. A lot of time we said, oh, my God, what you could do with that money. That money is written by a booster.
Yeah, I think his point was that the person making the initial claim is like they were just totally off base about where the money goes.
Yes,
yes. But I mean, it's ridiculous that they're paying the amount of money they are. So I don't think that makes it okay that they're spending, double-digit millions to fire the guy 2 weeks into the season. But in response to what was alleged, it doesn't have. They're not taken from the school, and like teachers aren't getting paid as much, or these things aren't happening at the university because they have to go pay this football coach. That's not exactly how it works. But it is ridiculous that they're paying the money they are.
Yeah, the boosters also. It's their money; they can do what they want with it. And a lot of these rich people have done dumber things. Donated to political campaigns of total buffoons, and
they've also given to charities
or given to charity. So it's their money to do dumb stuff. My point is, they can do dumb stuff with their money because it's their money. Like that. If you think it's dumb, I think it's dumb. It doesn't matter. It's their money.
The same donor is going to end up writing the check for whoever the next head coach is as well. All right, real quickly from Jason Shear.
If this was like a Southern Miss thing where the money's really sketchy and fishy to build a new volleyball arena for a certain former NFL quarterback's daughter, like that story, man. Yeah. Did y'all read the full blown?
Yeah, we have. Yes.
I had to ask a question about that.
Tomorrow.
I just had to ask a question about that. Was that really that important for his daughter to go through all of that, what he went through, and now will face afterwards, just so his daughter could play in a new arena?
Yeah.
No. Is that just another level of just?
Oh, it's
self-absorption and narcissism.
We're talking Brett Favre.
Yeah, Brett Favre. So if you read the story in the newspaper that put it out, it's incredible, and you just.
Yeah, no, it is. We'll do it on Off the Radar tomorrow. We'll go deep into that. Jason Shear, a tweet from earlier today, about an hour ago. According to Andrew Marchand, ESPN, the Pac-12, this is a part of the podcast with John Orand and also Andrew Marchand. The Pac-12, hundreds of millions apart. Now, read this carefully. Conferences have no leverage, realignment in play. Orand would be shocked, he did say this, if ESPN, though, doesn't find a way. Most likely discussing, of course, the Pac-12. Keep a close eye on this. He then retweeted the podcast. John Orand also said, thank you for doing that. So there's just that. Jason Shear, who we've had on from Wildcat Authority, covers the Pac-12 and also Arizona Wildcats sports. When we come back, he just got off the practice field. David Ware, App State Mania 247. Jeff Traylor, John Machota, top five, a busy 5 o'clock hour. Sikkim, 365 Radio and 365 Sports. IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace, an MRI machine that is good as anything you can find. And it's right there in the southern part of I-35 and Highway 6 in Waco. I've been in the MRI machine. The other day I was at the gym and someone mentioned something. They were having problems with their hip. And I said, are you sure it's your hip? He goes, no, they've actually thought it might be my lower back. And it is, and it was. The same thing I went through a few months ago when it felt like I had a fish hook in my hip. So I thought it was a torn or pulled muscle or tendon or ligament. And it was my L3 and L5 that were tight and narrow. And I was able to get something fixed. But they found that issue thanks to an MRI, thanks to Ideal MRI. $497 or less. We've told you the story about people who have saved hundreds and even thousands of dollars with an average MRI at $1,100. Dr. Rob Maxey, his staff, amazing. IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace in Waco, saving you money and helping you find out what hurts so much and why. IdealMRI.com.
Looking for an SUV designed for every adventure? We've got exactly what you need at Allen Samuels in Waco. Stop in today to get your new 2022 Wagoneer. Save big on Series 2 and 3 and get the low APR of 2.9% for 72 months. Plus, you receive $3,500 Conquest bonus cash. Plus, first responders receive an extra $500 off. Drive away in the original American Premium SUV from Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Jones cuts it north-south. Touchdown, Bears.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We have checked in with Marshall and their win at South Bend, and of course had Sunbelt Commissioner Keith Gill on the show earlier this week. David Ware, App State Mania 247 Sports, is wrapped up practice Appalachian State after the huge win in College Station, and David joins us, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Appalachian State's been here before. They're kind of used to this a little bit, but David, have you seen a little more uptick around Boone?
Well, I mean, the first significant thing you note is we've got College Game Day coming to campus this week, so that's not something that happens every week in Boone, North Carolina. So obviously, there's a lot more interest around the program right now, as there should be. But like you said, in all honesty, that's 7 of the last 8 games we've played against Power 5 teams where App has taken it to a one-score decision. They've won 3 of those games. I can tell you the coaches and players will tell you they should have won all 8. But, it's I think it's just part of the expectation. It's part of the culture. You don't go into those games and luck your way into a win. You have to expect to win when you go into them. And that's the mentality around the program, and that's the only way that those things happen.
David, if A&M wins that game as everybody predicted them to, game day is probably in College Station for A&M and Miami this week, which would have been the highest ranked 2 teams playing against each other. Did App State have some sort of a bet with the Aggies that if they won, they got game day?
I don't think that was on the line. Now I tried to gin up a few bets for some Texas brisket, but nobody was taking me up on that.
I love it. David, this is a program, double-digit wins multiple times in the last decade, much less, going back even further. This is a team that obviously has really built something. And so, again, that's why we're talking about this not being surprising and looking back to Michigan. But when did you get a sense that this team and this game, this environment in College Station, that this was a real possibility?
Well, let's be honest about it. We opened week 1 playing University of North Carolina here in Boone. And it was in terms of excitement, it was off the charts. UNC won the game 63-61. We had a 2-point conversion, actually a couple of them late in the game that would have either potentially won the game or tied it. Neither of those worked out. And anytime you give up 63 points, immediately start questioning, okay, where are we defensively? That's a logical and reasonable question to ask. And, I think coming into College Station, it was an unanswered question. If you had told me we would have held Texas A&M to less than 200 yards and 14 points on the day, 7 of which, of course, came on a kickoff return, I'm not sure I would have wagered with you on that. But that's just kind of the way App State does things. When it's time to step up, when it's time to put up, they do it. And I will say this: I had the unique perspective on Saturday. For road games, I actually join App State's radio broadcast, and I'm reporting from the sidelines for those games. So I was on the field for the entire game. And, when we got to halftime, it was a tight game. I just felt like there was a real calmness, a real confidence on App State's sideline, even when Texas A&M had the big kickoff return and you felt like, oh, wow, that could be a momentum swing. It never shook the guys on the sideline, not the staff, not the players, anybody. And, I think probably midway through the third quarter, it just felt like we started physically taking control of that game, which I know seems unbelievable given what Texas A&M is able to recruit. But, I think at that point it became more about mentality than physicality.
I saw that, and I wasn't
it
there.
was obvious. They were definitely the more physical, better team.
When the game was on the line to run it out, and they just pounded the ball, and A&M was mentally and physically just shot a team that knew that they had more than they could handle.
Well, again, it's just a matter of culture, and I think one of the things I would note about Texas A&M is they're incredibly, incredibly talented. You see it on the field. But there are some younger guys out there. They've got some first and second year guys that play key roles there. And App State has a veteran team. And again, they went into that game really expecting to win. I mean, everybody says they expect to win. But App State means it. They really expected to win that game. And, I think that belief is a lot of what carried them. But, it was a phenomenal thing. It was really cool to be at field level, to experience it, to experience the physicality both ways. You appreciate the size, the ability that Texas A&M has, and it's exciting if you're on the App State side of the fence to see the team go out and perform against just really phenomenal talent on the other side.
David Ware, App State Mania 247 Sports on the win in College Station against what was then top 10 ranked Texas A&M.
What do you think game day wise the students and everybody is looking forward to the most in Boone?
It's hard to say. I think just knowing that the college football world, for that 3 hours, that's the thing. My wife works in advertising and she does a lot of media analysis. She said, those guys average 2 million viewers per episode on ESPN. Other than the games themselves, game day is the biggest thing that they do. So, I think just knowing that the college football world from 9 to 12 Eastern on Saturday is going to be zeroed in on Boone, North Carolina is a huge thing. This is a small town. The college really is the town. Just to have yourself on that stage being talked about, Marty Smith was here today, was doing some stuff with our head coach, did some stuff around town, around campus. It's just, it's a significant thing. And I think it's really exciting for any program. We're starting to really kind of erase the lines between Power 5 and Group of 5, I think. But, if you're one of those non-power conference teams and programs, it makes you realize that the opportunities are there. You just have to be committed to them and go out and get them. But, I have no doubt that our students will not only be incredibly jacked up for the entirety of the show, but probably well lubricated even at 9 a.m.
No, that's a great point about, the other programs that aren't necessarily Alabama hosting game day every other week, it feels like, or those typical matchups. That's very cool that App's getting to experience that. And I know the magic that was kind of created here when game day visited a couple times. You start to see the set go up, and there's just a different buzz about town that's very cool. Now, App has been in the Sun Belt for almost a decade now at this point, but obviously it was a huge weekend for the conference. What do you make of the Sun Belt as it continues to evolve, the new teams that have come in, and the chase to go towards more of what seemingly big college football is going away from, which is geography, location, regional rivalries, and things of that nature?
Well, I think in the Sun Belt's case, look, it was very good timing. It was good fortune. I won't necessarily wish harm on other conferences, but Conference USA kind of disintegrating really helped the Sun Belt. And, in truth, we're not programs that have infinite money available. Funding is always a little bit of a challenge, and being able to control travel costs, being able to control the time out of class for your students, all of those things played into it. So a lot of what the Sun Belt did, they did out of really necessity from a financial standpoint. But I think it does make a lot of sense. And, App State went from literally being the northern outpost of the Sun Belt Conference to now being the hub of the Eastern Division. So it's really great, especially for App. But, I think the entire conference benefits because there are genuinely good programs there. That's what this weekend was 3. You had ODU knocking off Virginia Tech in week 1. So there are 4 Power 5 victories already in the first 2 weeks. So, I think that's a testament to the kind of football we're playing, but it's also really a healthier thing for the athletic programs, not just football, but, the rest of the sports as well, because it cuts down on travel. It gives your fans a chance to be more a part of those games. And, I think it's good all the way around. And I think some of it was good fortune, good timing, but some of it was also good planning. We knew, in the Sun Belt, I think everyone knew what they had to do, needed to do, and they've gone out and constructed a league that's not only highly competitive, but also, brings that regional rivalry feel to things, which is, such a huge part of sports. At least it always has been.
Without looking ahead, who else do they have already lined up for future games that were against Power 5 schools? Do you know?
Yeah, well, in 2024, we travel to Clemson. In 2025, I think it's 2025, 2026, we recently announced the home and home series with North Carolina State. When you start going out a little further than that, I know that there was a future date we were working out with South Carolina, but, beyond that, it starts to get a little thinner in terms of what's already scheduled. And, I think one of the concerns you have if you're not in a Power 5 conference is as these mega conferences continue to develop, one of the things I think you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of these leagues eliminate an out-of-conference game. They're going to go to like a 9-3 instead of an 8-4. And, when those things happen and you're not in the power group, you start to worry about how much availability there's going to be in the future for Power 5 opponents, because they're not going to worry about strength of schedule outside of their conference calendar. So, we'll just have to kind of see how things go. But there are a handful of games lined up over the next 4 to 5 years.
I think everybody should block the AD's phone number from Appalachian State. They should not take his calls. It's dangerous. It's spam. Don't do it. It's fun. I love what they're doing. David, great stuff. And it was great you were right there in the middle of all that massive stadium with an incredible crowd and a huge win for Appalachian State, but they're used to it, as we've mentioned, and you did as well. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Great being with you guys.
David Ware, 247 Sports, covers Appalachian State for App State Mania, and they just keep doing it. It's not like just the blocked field goal against Michigan or what happened Saturday. Like you said, they just kind of keep chalking one up. If you're Clemson, you're like, oh, my God. Not really, but maybe. You don't know.
Yeah, I mean, sort of. Michigan was quite a while ago, and that's the one we fall back on. So it's not like every year we're talking about App State, but they've done it frequently enough to where we, fondly reminisce over the Michigan game, and now we have another chapter to add to that will come up whenever they're brought up, and kudos to them. That was an incredible win.
UTSA head football coach Jeff Traylor, they have Texas this weekend coming off the win against Army, that opening game, the numerous overtimes against Houston, joins us live. Have you ever been through like the first couple of weeks like you've seen this year with UTSA in your coaching career?
Yes, sir. 2001, we opened up our season. We lost to Gladewater in multiple overtimes, which is the last time Gilmer lost to Gladewater in 2001. And then 2002, the very next week, came back and played hook. Double or triple overtime and won that game. So I told my staff that, and my brother Kurt, like right when we missed the field goal going to overtime, he's like, bro, you've got to quit speaking crap into existence. This is terrible. So, yeah, we've been through it before.
Coach, have you told the team it's okay to win it in regulation, or do they just like playing that much?
Well, if they can get me in overtime 3 weeks in a row, we'll be glad to sign up for that right now.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I love having you on the show. It's great to hear your voice and also your sense of humor as well.
I appreciate that. I didn't have much of one at that Houston game, but I'm doing a little better this week.
No, and that was a miraculous stuff. Just a great game to watch. Now, you're playing Texas. You used to coach there. You know what they've done, and in fact, what we saw against Alabama. How do you approach this week?
Well, I was a lot more optimistic until I watched that game. I think they outplayed them. I mean, they physically controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. I think their running backs are better than Alabama's back. I think Bijan is as good a back as there is in the country. I think Roschon's as good of a two back there is in the country for sure. And man, it was electric, and they looked the real deal. And we're going to really struggle with their size and their girth on both sides of the ball.
Coach, obviously they had a injury there at quarterback. It's been secretive as far as what the actual diagnosis is on Quinn Ewers. How do you as a coach prepare for uncertainties like that? Do you just prepare full meal deal and expect that everybody will be available? And if they're not great, how do you kind of do that as a coach?
You just do your best to put yourself in his position. Obviously I don't have any intel of what's going on with those kids, but I can watch the video and I can make my own assessment of what I think. And you do your best to try to guess what he might do. I mean, Roschon was a quarterback in high school. They've shown multiple games where they were in Wildcat with him back there 15 to 20 snaps. So I would imagine that'd be part of the plan. Those other two guys couldn't go. And if one of those other two guys didn't go, I imagine that'll be still a small part of the plan. And they'll mix in with those guys can do well with their health issues. So you're just trying to anticipate what he's going to do and prepare the best you can.
Is there an obvious difference? You have played straight up with who you have, with Houston and now UTSA. You've played against other people before. Is there an obvious difference when you look at Texas compared to other teams you've played since you've been at UTSA?
Yeah, it was just, you could tell they've done a really good job recruiting. I mean, you look at their offensive line. Of course, we all know what Kelvin Banks is going to be, 6'6", 300 pounds. And Hayden Connor, those kids from Katy. And, those are just big, big, big humans. Christian Jones, 6'6", 315. And I've always been impressed with Bijan and Roshan. And I just know all these kids so well. Jaren's from Lufkin, Thompson, and DeMarvion, Overshaw's from Art. I just have a lot of, Ojimo's from Katy, Coburn from Westfield. I know all those kids. I've been around them for a long time. I just know how talented they are. And, but my kids are excited. They really are. I like my team. We're battle tested. We play two really good football teams. We're beat up real bad, obviously, as anybody would be if they played Houston or Army back to back. But I still like my kids. I like how they compete. And I'm excited to watch them play Saturday.
Coach, how much does your team's gumption, their ability to not let bad things get in their way and have to play and keep in these games, forcing overtime 2 weeks in a row, have to do with the fact that you have a lot of seniors and juniors and upperclassmen and guys who have been through things on your roster?
We've been blessed. It's our third season together, and we haven't had anybody hit the portal. They've all ridden in here with me and stayed in there with me. And I'm really proud of them. We don't have crazy NIL money. We've got good NIL money, but we don't have crazy NIL money. They could have gotten more. They could have gotten in the portal and gotten more. But, man, they stayed in here with me. They're ride-or-die guys. I love coaching them. I can't wait to watch them play Saturday. And I know we're going against a great opponent, and I know we're a double-digit dog, and it's a tough environment. But, man, I'm excited for my kids to have this opportunity.
Coach, what was the thought process behind this 3-game stretch to open the season? I think just a wildly different set of preparations going from, Holgerson and the Cougars to obviously what Army does that's so unique and being on the road and then going on the road and what UT does, just kind of the process of the program having this incredible start schedule-wise.
Well, first, I used to make jokes because I was the AD and the head football coach as a high school coach. I'd make jokes when we had those killer schedules that the AD was trying to get me fired because I was both, right? Well, now I'm not both. So if I wouldn't have known she signed me to a 10-year contract, I would have thought she's trying to get me fired with these first 3 games. They're all uniquely different. They're all very physical. They're all very good teams. And the high school coach in me looks at this like non-conference, non-district. And I know it's going to prepare us. You always want to play, Scott Surratt, John King, and those kind of guys in non-district, so you're ready for district. Because I learned when I first started, David can vouch for, we tried to schedule as many cupcakes as possible. Because we just wanted to win some ball games and get a little false hope for our kids.
Right, yeah.
But the more you got in those playoffs deep into them, you weren't ready because you hadn't played anybody worth a hoot. Well, we're battle tested. Can we come out of this thing healthy is going to be the key.
Your quarterback was special, but he's always special. With Frank Harris, he won the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award for this week for the performance against Army, but he could probably do that almost every week. How extra special did you see him on Saturday?
Man, I talked to my team about it. I told y'all about it. When you have those kind of guys, man, you better enjoy them. Don't take them for granted, man. They're a blessing. I've had a few of those in my career. You don't get to sit in these chairs unless you've had a few of those kind of guys. And we're just grateful to have him. It was 2nd and 19. They pressured us. He came out of it, made 2 guys miss, and he jumped 3 of them for a first down. And, of course, your heart goes up in your throat when you see him jump up in the air with 3 people. But when he landed and got back up, man, our sideline was really into the game. They love Frank Harris, as we all do.
Jeff, have you ever, and I'm not suggesting because of who you're playing, because we just saw what Appalachian State, Marshall, and Georgia Southern did this past weekend. Have you ever entered a game as a coach in high school or college where you didn't think you could win a game?
Yeah, my first year at Gilmer, we were about to play Dangerfield, and it was 49-0 at halftime. Then the next – we were losing, by the way. Then the next week, we were playing Spring Hill, and it was 28-0 in the first quarter. We were losing again. And I remember saying to my coaches, man, 28 times 4, that's 112. These guys can score 112 points on me. They're going to fire me my very first year. So, yeah, I'd be lying if I told you that we weren't ready back then. But it's been a long time. I would think that's the last time I ever had that thought. It was probably 2000.
How much do you think what those teams did this past weekend helps just college football in general? So much talk about the big conferences, the money, and all of that. But then those three just went into three classic tradition-type schools and won straight up.
Well, I know I'm just a high school football coach, so no one's going to listen to me, right? But if there's anything I wish the media could do for just a good old country boy asking for a favor, I wish we'd stop using the term G5 and Power 5. I don't think anybody'd ever know the difference if we'd all just quit talking about it. I mean, those are good programs. App State plays good football. I mean, Marshall plays really good football. So, and it's so good for the game. It's just good for the game when we have those upsets. And I thought it was good for the game last weekend, and it got everybody excited. I'm so excited about the rule change of, we're going to take 12 to the playoffs now. And if you win your conference, those top 6, conference teams, those guys are going to get in there. That's exciting, man. I'm recruiting at UTSA now, and I can tell recruits, you come here, not that we're ready to win the AAC yet. I'm not saying that. But if we were to win that league, we're going to the playoffs. That's pretty special.
So from college football falling apart to now, a switch has been flipped in the best kind of way, hasn't it, for schools all outside of the talking points, as you just said, the Power 5 or whatever. I mean, we months ago, college football's falling apart, and now here we are, and it's better than ever for a program like UTSA. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, because let's just put on our recruiting caps real quick. Do you want to go to the University of Texas and sit on the bench and wait on all those 5 stars? You can go to the National Football League right here from San Antonio. Spencer Burford starting left guard for the 49ers. Tariq Woolen starting at corner for the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah, hey, by the way, you can also play for a national championship. Yeah. You can compete in a 12-team playoff if you win your league. I mean, that is just so exciting for kids. It's better for all of us. It's better for media. It's better for boosters. It's better for presidents. Better for coaches. It's a win-win for everybody. And I'm really excited that some of those teams did that last week to get everybody talking about this very conversation you're asking me about.
Well, I know if anyone believes exactly what you said is you, and it's good, and I love it. I love the way so much was time spent on the super this and that, and yet, man, that's why we play the game. That's why we watch and cover the game. And Jeff, good luck Saturday in Austin. Thank you so much for the access you give us.
Brother, whenever David Smoak needs anything, it's going to get done. I can promise you that. Appreciate your friendship. God bless, and birds up.
Thank you, buddy. Birds up. That's Jeff Traylor, UTSA football coach. I love everything he said. Again, the pitch, perfect pitch. The fact that, early on he did have games when he thought they had no way they could win a game. Because most coaches would say, no, I've never done that before. I've never had that thought before. He was brutally honest and had a reason to be.
If they get out of this healthy, they're going to just have the greatest time the rest of their schedule, man. You go Houston, at Army, at Texas, and then you turn around and, all due respect to these other programs, but Texas Southern and Western Kentucky and FIU and North Texas and, I'm sure that they will get some fights in there somewhere, but compared to the first 3 weeks of the season and what they've faced, that rest of the schedule is going to be not a cakewalk, but it's not going to be real complex and complicated versus the preparations they've had to go. Going from Houston and what they do to what Army does, and then going from what Army does to what UT's doing, and to play at Army and to play at Texas, it's a crazy first 3 weeks, and they're going to be, like he said, the term battle-tested. They're going to be as battle-tested as anybody in the country. They played in 4 overtimes already. They got to get past this one and obviously play a great game, but they can get out of there healthy, then watch out the rest of the schedule.
Yeah, I agree with you, Craig. And that Army thing, when you have to go, it's preparing for that offense, especially when you have to have your scout team learn it in a day. In a day, you have to tell them, okay, how many of you guys ran the wishbone or the veer in high school? And 30 years ago, 20 years ago, you have kids.
A lot of the guys that go to Army probably have some sort of that background. Wouldn't you think?
Well, the Army, but I'm talking about the kids on UTSA.
Oh, no. Okay.
The scout team at UTSA. Yeah. How many of you guys, especially you came from Texas, if you're in the scout team at UTSA, you didn't run the bone unless you went to Hamilton.
And I don't really think Army football is able to just hey, recruit the guys who fit the system. They're kind of at the mercy of whoever they have.
Who's they serve our country.
Hey, who's got experience with the, whatever. They can't really choose that way. They have to have guys sign up to play. in the beginning. So yeah, it's very unique in that regard. But I think it's great to hear that after the last year of hand-wringing over what could happen and what looked like it was going to happen, thanks to the Big Ten's moves. Today's a day where you hear Jeff Traylor talking about UTSA and the playoff possibilities that they'll have now, and that they can actually sell that and actually have something to that selling. They couldn't say that before.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go undefeated and probably, could still very well get blocked out of a playoff, because who are you? You're UTSA. You didn't play the schedule Alabama played or the Ohio State played. You didn't play anybody. Kind of like we've seen with UCF have to deal with, and so many others have had to deal with. So yeah, I think it's cool that now they will have a real legitimate opportunity, and that's big time for a program like that. And then you hear a conversation today about the breaking off and how there's breaks being slimmed on that idea. I think things are, the ratings this past weekend, I think things are coming up really well. College football has got the world by the you-know-whats right now, if it really can figure that out and eliminate some of the things that are just issues that shouldn't really be issues. Clear out the problems that you've had, get those squared away, and man, just enjoy the game and all that it brings with it. Because man, there's a lot of popularity out there.
We will have Bob Thompson, who we had on during a lot of what happened with USC and UCLA and a couple of different times, the college football playoff expansion news. We're going to have him come back on with us tomorrow and kind of give us an idea of maybe some of the newest news or what this might mean, and what John Alrand and Andrew Marchand and what they're saying in the podcast. We'll have him back on the show tomorrow, and hopefully get Ross Dellinger, who had a lot today about, all this thing about the NCAA was just going to disappear with FBS. Slow down on that. And there's reasons behind it as well. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be and perhaps used to be. Father Time wins everything. He wins. But Father Time can create problems within your own body, no matter how healthy you might be. No matter whether you have a great diet, you exercise, and get a lot of sleep. But some of that can go right south because of testosterone. Levels inside of a man's body. Testosterone levels drop as you get older. 1 of every 3 men have symptomatic issues. It could be body fat, no matter what you do to stay in shape. It could be sleep habits. It could be testosterone that affects your sex drive and ED and more. Dr. Kent Petty will set you up with an appointment to get your blood drawn. He gets the results, checks your testosterone levels, and if it's too low, he can put you in a program to increase your testosterone levels to get all of that or most of that or some of that back. 1 out of every 3 men, that could be you. Go to the website and find the number and email, top left-hand corner, and contact them and tell them I sent you at PettyClinicLowT.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgan Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season, and BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Colgan Ford.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
John Machota, theathletic.com, covers the Cowboys in the NFL. Cowboys on Sunday night were just bludgeoned 19-3. Dak, of course, hurt with the thumb. And so many things went wrong. And a lot of them were thoughts that might go wrong during the offseason and leading up to the season. John, thanks for your time. Is Jerry saying that Dak might get back earlier just a way of trying to maybe a silver lining? We know he's one of the most positive people in the world, but he and injuries and timelines have been shaky in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. I do believe they got better news, than what they were originally anticipating right after he suffered the injury. So I do believe that. But it's one of those things where it probably went from 6 to 8 weeks to 4 to 6. And Jerry's always going to take that first number. And so I think there's a little bit of it for the fan base, I don't think it's for selling tickets to the games. Those have been sold long ago, and AT&T Stadium's going to have a lot of fans there regardless. But I think it's to provide hope for the fan base to a certain extent. But I also think it's for the team as well. I believe he puts that stuff out there, kind of like one of those things. Hey, let's not put Dak on IR out. He might not be back for 5 weeks or so, but let's make sure that he stays out there. He's around the team. He can practice still. And, maybe he heals quickly and we get lucky and we get him back in 4 games. That's a possibility, And so I'm going to put that out there. But I don't know that anybody should really expect it. I talked to an orthopedic surgeon earlier today, and she said it's more likely 6 weeks is probably where this is at. And I tend to think that's where it's at too. The original thought was, hey, it's going to probably be after the bye week and in Green Bay. I think it's probably going to be before the bye week. I don't know that it's going to be the Rams or maybe the Eagles game like Jerry's hoping right now.
John, optimism can be a bad thing too, because sometimes you can be so relentlessly optimistic that reality escapes you. And it feels like reality is escaping the Cowboys, not just on Dak's injury, but about their makeup of their entire offensive roster. Now, defensively, it could get more pressure on the passer from the ends, but not a whole lot of complaints there. But offensively, they are in a prison of their own making right now.
Yeah, in a way, I can see that. You can obviously say it off of how little they did in the offseason in terms of what they lost out of veterans and how few veterans and big names that they even added, which they didn't add any big names. But, that's certainly part of it. I think that, you're optimistic that, hey, our guys that are young players are going to take a step and be better in their second year. Our guys that are in their second or third year are going to take a next step and be better in their fourth, as opposed to, obviously, everyone will point to the Rams where they're just being super aggressive, and at least last offseason they were, and it led to a Super Bowl. There's definitely some part of that with Jerry Jones. He's probably been a little too optimistic, and hey, frankly, everything should be up for criticism when the last 26 years the results are what they are. If you're not getting back to that Super Bowl in 26 years, I think everything that you do going about your business, is up for criticism.
Of the players and what we saw Sunday night, the evidence, what was positive in your opinion, or who was the most positive, if there was a performance or two that stood out to you?
Well, no question, it's Micah Parsons. I mean, He just continued to build on what we saw last year. He's just an absolute bona fide defensive player of the year candidate in every sense. So that is your biggest positive, no questions about it. And I think that helps and trickles down to overall, I thought the defense played pretty well. The run game, that needs to be better. That was something that they worked on in the offseason. That was an emphasis this offseason is to be better against the run. And they weren't great against it. Leonard Fournette had over 120 yards. So that's an issue. But overall, I thought the defense showed you that they're going to be able to keep you in games against just about anybody. And they should continue to get better. Now, they lost Jaron Kearse for a couple games, and that'll hurt a little bit. But their defensive depth, particularly at safety, is as good as it's been for a long time. So they are actually in a decent position to kind of address that. And I thought it was a good sign actually seeing Jaron Kearse today working on the resistance cords, because when I saw him in the locker room after the game, he was on crutches. He did not look good. So for him to be walking pretty well and doing stuff on the resistance cords, I thought that was a good sign. But yeah, the defense, showed up and for the most part, played good enough for them to be able to win the game. But I feel like, especially now with Cooper Rush as a starting quarterback for at least the next, four games, I feel the defense is going to have to be even better for them to have a chance to win a few of these.
John, Ezekiel Elliott, 5.2 yards a carry. They've got to run the ball more than 10 times. I know that you guys talked to him today. Do you think, especially given with Cooper Rush starting, that we will actually see that?
Yeah, I think so. I think the game plan is going to look pretty similar to when Cooper Rush played against the Vikings, where I think he's going to be pretty conservative early on, as long as the defense can keep the game close. And then you'll see him take his shots. Like you look at that game against Minnesota, once the second half started, and he took the shot down the middle to Cedric Wilson for the big play. And he just kind of opened things up in the second half. And I think it could be similar here. Of course, that's if you keep the game close, but Minnesota scored on that opening drive, and it looked like they were going to have their hands full there, and they kind of just stayed in the game. And then, Cooper made the winning play at the end. But, obviously Zeke, he looked good in that game, and he looks like he can handle more of a workload. I'll just say this. When I see the success they had on the ground in terms of, you mentioned the average yards, I don't know how many drives they can just keep running the ball. And even if you are getting 5 yards, I feel like for this running game to be successful, that they're going to have some big chunk plays in that running game. And one of the reasons I say that is because you could get away with a 5 yards here, 6 yards here, 7 yards, 2 yards, and then 7 on the 2014-2016 Cowboys with the offensive line. This particular offensive line, to build a long drive like that with a lot of shorter runs, 15-play drives, I just think that's wishful thinking, because on a 10-15 play drive with this offense, it just raises the chances of a holding call, of some type of pre-snap penalty that just sets everything back. And so you need to run the ball, obviously more. Zeke needs more than 10 carries, but there are going to have to be some chunk plays somewhere, and there just weren't any, Sunday night.
Yeah, it was just a disastrous start. Cincinnati's got their own problems, don't they, John?
Yeah, they do. I mean, certainly Joe Burrow didn't take care of the ball very well in the first game. You know, he had four turnovers. I think 4. He might have had 5, actually. So that's not great. But also on the flip side, for the Cowboys, do you really want to be getting Joe Burrow off of that performance? I was talking to our writer that covers the Bengals for us, Jay Morrison, and he was saying that, you know, at the end of after locker room ended after that game, you know, reporters are leaving, and for most of us, when that happens, there's very few players even left. He said that Joe Burrow was still sitting there, full uniform, just staring in his locker like he was not happy at all with the way he played, obviously. And so, yeah, they have their issues. I mean, who wasn't surprised, even going all the way to the start of the playoffs, that they went on the run that they did? I mean, they kind of caught lightning in a bottle. I don't think that this is a Bengals team that will be going back to the Super Bowl, especially in the loaded AFC. But it is a good team, and they're a better team than they played last week. And the Cowboys are going to see a better team. And frankly, if you're a Cowboys fan, you got to hate seeing that, because of the fact that when's the last time this team has beaten a good team? I mean, it probably hasn't been since that Patriots game last year before Dak suffered the calf injury. And that, to me, just seems like it's several years ago.
John, wide receiver was abysmal on Sunday night. That was, I mean, CeeDee Lamb, they could double him. They could do any kind of coverage they wanted. So he couldn't, really look like the number one receiver he's supposed to be. They're trotting out Dennis Houston out there, who is a great camp story, but is still an undrafted rookie free agent starting in game 1. What does the timetable look like for Michael Gallup right now? Because they need him almost as desperately as they need some healthy offensive linemen.
Yeah, so another good sign with Gallup. He was back out there doing individual drills. He was listed as limited today on the injury report. I never expected him to play in the first 2 weeks, and I still believe that will not be the case. But what is interesting is I think the way they're ramping him up is that he is a possibility, I believe, for the following week against the Giants. So that could be a good sign. A guy that a lot of us thought, after what we saw at the beginning of training camp, that he was going to start the season on PUP and miss the first 4 games to potentially return in the third game. That's obviously a good sign. And yeah, I agree with you. The receivers weren't great. I also don't think Dak Prescott was very good, and that just made things even more difficult, because if he's on his game, if he's on his game, they're at least scoring a touchdown. The fact that they were the only team in the NFL in Week 1 that scored a touchdown is horrid. Much less the fact that they weren't even able to get within the red zone. So, but I think all around there's plenty of blame, and CD obviously gets a lot of it because he's been elevated to the number 1 role, and you don't even need to watch route trees or who's defending who and who's playing quarterback. The fact that at the end of the day, the stat sheet says you were targeted 11 times and you only had 2 receptions, that's not great. And especially not for someone that's being elevated at that number 1 spot, but that's going to come with it now. I mean, that's the pressure that comes with being that number 1 receiver, and now he has to step up as well.
What about Micah Parsons not going on with Skip on Undisputed?
To me, that's maturity.
It is, but I also believe that there's some people in the organization that probably got to his ear about that. I don't think that they were thrilled about the idea of that when they heard before the season started. And I think, you add in the loss and in the Dak injury, and he mentioned that today when asked about it. And he was like, I don't need to be a leader on TV. I need to be a leader in the locker room. And that's the right way to go about this, especially right now with losing Dak. And so, I'm sure that, that show will take their shots on him not coming on or whatever like that. But I do think that it's a smart move, especially with where the team's at right now. And it's just, I'm sure that the organization is very pleased with his response to that.
Thank you, John Machota. John Machota, theathletic.com, and the Cowboys. Every Wednesday at around 5:30 on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Garrett, you have the note up on LSU in Oklahoma. We've discussed the games in the future with Georgia and Tennessee. Matt Moscona, LSU Executive Deputy AD Verge Osbury, confirms that LSU and Oklahoma will lose their home-and-home series 27-28. Of course, they'll be a part of the conference, but he says that they have already been working on non-conference options to replace OU. Says he expects to play a Power 5 school regardless of the SEC schedule model.
Man, OU was scheduled all through the SEC.
Well, first of all, I love the fact that they had those games scheduled, and they will go to that as well. They're going to do that. That's who they do. Like in Texas, it's going to play Alabama and Ohio State and teams like that. But there's another one. And in the end, they're going to be conference mates. Someone actually threw this up in the chat room, and I'm not smart enough to be able to digest this quick enough. Is it the possibility that those games, the ones in 23 or 24, would have been huge revenue games, right? And they don't want to share that revenue with the Big 12. I have no idea. That's just a thought. I don't even know if that's what would happen in the first place.
No, but look, and the thing is that it's not like they're losing Oklahoma games. They're gaining Oklahoma games. And for LSU, you're gaining an Oklahoma game probably that year. They'll probably make the schedule bend that way to them, even if Oklahoma's not in their pairing, just so it's that way.
Play them sooner.
Yeah, play them sooner. And then you're getting another probably Power 5 game that's going to be good. So really you lose nothing and gain more. So
yeah, in the long run. Yeah, absolutely. Today we have touched in on Marshall. We have been talking to somebody who covers Appalachian State, UTSA's Jeff Traylor, Matt Tate on KU, Ricky Thompson on Baylor, and also John Machota on the Cowboys as part of what we bring to you here today on 365 Sports. And Paul Catalina's Top 5 is next. Marco's Pizza, marcos.com. Pepperoni Magnifico. Enjoy a large $9.99 pepperoni Magnifico. It's a delicious pizza with extra pepperoni just everywhere. Everywhere. There's hardly any openings that doesn't have a piece of pepperoni on it. You can order now online at PepMag is the code for $9.99. That's a large pepperoni Magnifico at marcos.com, or you can call Marcos for your pizza delivery. There are 5 locations in the Central Texas area around Waco. Large one-topping pizzas, $8.99 each. You can get online and order at $8.99 to go. Also, $3 off any large specialty pizzas. Order the code number special3. Unlimited medium one-topping pizzas, $7.99 each. Order the code number is MED799. Have you heard about the cauliflower crust pizza? They have those if you want to kind of watch what you're eating as far as the calories and more. Order now. The new cauliflower crust pizza is on any small pizza. They have pizza bowls, they have wings, they have salads, they have the drinks. They have what you need. Marco's Pizza, marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it.
The wait is over. Richard Carr GMC has the trucks. 2022 GMC Sierras have hit the lot and are waiting for you. Sierra trucks offer best-in-class towing, strong steel bed, multi-pro tailgate, advanced collision avoidance, and a luxurious interior that includes massive touchscreens, 14 camera views, and premium comfort. Trucks are waiting for you to test drive now. So call now, log in now, or get here now and drive your next truck at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Top 5 coaches that need a good week. I'm not doing a hot seat thing. I'm just saying these guys need a good week. Number 5, Marcus Freeman needs a good week. First Notre Dame coach in history to start at 0-3. There's a lot of people, a lot of people invested in his success, but he's the first one to start at 0-3. And I would just think to get that win, to get that off your back would be good for them going forward. I still think he's going to be a good coach there, but they're without their starting quarterback probably for the rest of the season. So things have changed in a hurry in Notre Dame from being a top 5 team to being a team that you got to wonder how many games that they can muster playing with a backup quarterback and losing a game that should have been a gimme to most people in the Sun Belt. Although I think that Sun Belt gimme idea is probably vanished if you're smart now.
That's a stupid thing to say. And remember, they did that video about the uniforms and all of that, and it just seemed like everything he was doing was, like young and hip and completely different than Brian Kelly. And listen, when LSU lost that game to Florida State and the way they lost, I'm sure there were a lot of Notre Dame fans just relishing that. And yet they have their own problem. And I would think Brian Kelly's going to win at LSU before Marcus Freeman wins at Notre Dame. Would you take that bet?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, probably, yeah. But I don't know, if it'll be significant. It might be like a year ahead of time, but also, there's a little bit of a different standard at those two schools in terms of how you could get there. So I think Marcus Freeman probably has a few rules to follow, whereas LSU, I think that they embrace the fact that it's basically a lawless land, that as long as you win, it doesn't really matter how you did it.
That's pretty much Louisiana's a state.
It is. It absolutely is. That anybody wants to argue that, go right ahead, but it's true. And they embrace that, and they love that, whether it's from the outside, respected or not. But, losing Tyler Buckner, that obviously hurts. It wasn't like he was lighting the world on fire to start the season, however. But, yeah, that still hurts. And you saw his backup comes in and throws a pick right away to seal the game. So it's like they were just damned if they did, damned if they didn't on Saturday. I think he'll be a good coach. I know all of the reasons why people were excited about him to begin with, but that is, a pretty big job and not one that you just, it's just simply a matter of being cool and being able to recruit. There's so much that comes with that no matter where you are. And so I'm curious to see his journey and whether he's able to learn from these lessons and get this thing back on course. And I'm sure he will. And I'm sure that once he does that, then we'll see them winning some games. But, yeah, that's been really shocking so far.
Yeah. Number 4, Carl Durrell at Colorado. Can you tell me anything that's going well at Colorado right now? Can you tell me anything? Yeah. You did.
It was prior to TCU,
yeah. What's going on at Colorado?
Nothing.
Yeah.
It's almost as if they have and I don't want to say this, it's almost like you forget they're there.
Yes. They've been basically irrelevant since Steven Montez was there a couple years ago and got them into a Pac title game because they were in a weaker division, quite frankly. But they had pretty good success there. But they lost, like Jarek Broussard, who's sitting there doing really well for Michigan State, was a guy that they had on that roster. And they've had some talent, but I just think now it's with the transfer portal and all that, what talent they do have is going to take off, because why would you stay there? You're not playing for anything, really. You're not going to win a Pac title anytime soon. You're definitely not getting into the playoff anytime soon. They're there. They're just there, and that's all I can really say about them.
Yeah. We talk about Nebraska losing their identity. Colorado clearly has, because, it's...
And I don't even know what that was anyways. Yeah. Colorado was just kind of I don't know. What was their identity?
They used to be one of those teams that was always good. They won a natty in 1990.
Right. I know we know about Cordell Stewart and Michael Westbrook and Rashawn Salam. I don't know what they were just kind of like the bad boys of the Big 12, almost in a way. I don't know if it was the black uniforms maybe that made me feel that way as a young kid, but and also rooting for Nebraska. Maybe that's why they felt like kind of like the bad guys to me in that regard. But outside of that, I have no. I think of Colorado football, and I think of Michael Westbrook and Rashawn Salam and those guys, and Cordell Stewart and
Coach McCarthy.
But that's also when I was not even in high school, and that's a really long time ago. Really long time ago now at this point. So yeah, they're kind of there, and I don't see really any ways that he's there very much longer.
Well, they did have Dan McCarney as well. Hey, Intramurals, it's a Big 12. That one, that's one of my favorites. Yeah. That's a long time ago. Number 3, Jimbo Fisher. I was my doctor was at the doctor this morning, and my doctor's an Aggie, and he said, "How you doing?" I said, "Probably better than Jimbo," and he said, "Yes, you are doing better than Jimbo Fisher right now," and that is the feeling of. It's hit the point of now where the optimism is kind of gone, and it's you are making a bleep load of money, Jimbo. This university is paying you a bleep load of money to win games, and Texas A&M right now, I said it earlier, they are paying Bentley prices and getting Ford Explorer results. That's what they're doing, and I'm not knocking the Ford Explorer. I've driven 2 of them in my life. I love the Ford Explorer, but I'm telling you, if I was paying Bentley prices, I'd want a damn Bentley. And they are not a Bentley right now.
Oh, he just needs more time, right? Just needs 6 years to get this thing on track. I mean, there's no excuses here of any shape or form. That there's no even the most diehard A&M fans won't sit there and try to stand up for him right now, because they know that was embarrassing on Saturday. It's embarrassing where they are this deep into his tenure. They're not anywhere closer to where they were supposed to be than when they hired him. If anything, they might be further away. So yeah, it's not good right now.
It's been a bad year for 12 months with them, a little over that, because of the SEC decision with Oklahoma and Texas, and you had that separation and you had the momentum, and then that's going to come back and get you a little bit.
They got their asses kicked. That wasn't just I understand, but they got physically whooped in so many ways.
Oh no, there's
Saturday.
one thing to lose a game. It's another thing when you're a big boy program when somebody physically beats you up.
Took their guts right out.
That takes your manhood.
Yeah. Number 2, Scott Satterfield at Louisville had the stay of execution after getting the win last Friday night against UCF. Welcomes another team from Florida into Louisville this week in Florida State. Florida State. If they can win this game, it's going to be great for Mike Norvell. It's going to be really bad for Scott Satterfield. Just traded a text with, a friend of ours in the Louisville media says that the worm has turned on him, and this is going to be a big one. I do wonder, though, even if he did win this week, if that's just a stay of execution, if he's just going to turn around and lose to some other games in the ACC. And beating Florida State doesn't mean near as much as it used to. It might mean something for him for a short time, but he's got to beat Florida State, and he also has to go beat Clemson and everybody else in the ACC to really make a difference.
Hasn't he been on here kind of before?
Oh yeah, he's to me he and this next guy are kind of at the top of the list. Now the next guy we talked about earlier in the show.
Wait a minute, did they not just beat UCF?
Yeah. He just said that.
Yeah, they just beat UCF, but he's got to do more than that.
Okay. Right.
2020, he went and interviewed at South Carolina and lied about it. And since then, everybody's been like, well,
that's where we could kind of start that's as much of anything is like when we're doing that and you're not winning. Well, you just gave them all the ammunition in the world. If you hadn't done that and you lose and then you beat UCF, like, hey, yeah, you beat UCF, but now it's almost like, no, you've already soured the pool here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Number 1, Neil Brown. They've got Towson this week, so he's probably going to have a good week. He needs to have a good couple of weeks. He's got to go beat Towson, and he's got to beat Virginia Tech as well. He has to do that. I don't think they're going to lose to Towson, but strange things that happen in college football. This could be a good get-right game for West Virginia, but this week and next are pretty big for Neil Brown. I think coming out 2-2 is pretty important. 1-3 after the next couple weeks is only going to make things worse for him, especially considering how Virginia Tech started their season losing to Old Dominion from the Sun Belt. Yep.
Yeah, well, they're definitely going to beat Towson. I'd be shocked if that doesn't happen. But beyond that, I don't know about Virginia Tech. And then they get Texas and Baylor pretty much back-to-back. So that's how they're going to start Big 12 play beyond the loss to start it last week against Kansas. So, they better get right in a hurry because it's not going to get any easier, that's for sure.
All right. Thank you very much, Jacob Wilson, Emery Winter, Levi, Jack, all of them here, some of them remote, whatever. Garrett Ross, of course, right here in the studio. Thank you so much. We're back tomorrow. Bob Thompson, a little bit more. Anything really out there that he wants to discuss or we want to discuss with him about, TV deals and college football in general. Also, Max Olson, Mickey Spagnola, among others, for Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. Thank you, all of you in the chat room. It's amazing how much energy is there. And also text lines. Our sponsors, David Smoak, Good Night 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.